All salvations and blessings. Thanks to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala because you are still given health waiver to be here. Don't forget salawat and greeting for our Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam who taught their people goodness. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. The Honorable Invitees, Vice Rector for Academic Affair and Kemuhammadiyahan, University of Muhammadiyah Malang, Professor Dr. Syamsul Arifin, Dean of Faculty of Agriculture and Animal Science, Professor Dr. Aris Winaya. This Scientific Publication and Development Institute, Dr. Fardini Sabila. Distinguished guests, our speaker today, Professor Dr. Budi Laksono from Innovation and Research National Institution. Also, welcome to the dear speakers who are currently online in Zoom. Dr. Jose Soli Ramirez from Mexico, Professor Maximo Leri Lopez Cesare, PhD from Japan, Professor Francisco Alberto Gracia Vasquez from Spain. Steering committee of this event also, dear all participants. Welcome to the fourth hybrid International Conference on Bioenergy and Environmentally Sustainable Agriculture Technology, ICANBID 2023. By Faculty of Agriculture and Animal Science, University of Muhammadiyah Malang. We are honored to have you all here representing diverse expertise and backgrounds in fourth icon bed to discuss about renewable energy and sustainable agriculture to support sustainable development goals or SDGs. We explore, learn, and contribute to the world of business, economics, science, and applied technologies. Firstly, let us attentively listen recitation of the Holy Quran that will be delivered by Nur Suaida.
واعتصموا بحبل الله جميعا ولا تفرقوا واذكروا نعمة الله بين قلوبكم فألف بين قلوبكم فأصبحتم بنعمته وكنتم على شفا حفرة من النار فأنقذكم كذلك يبين الله لكم آياته لعلكم تهتدون صدق الله العظيم. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Now, without further ado, let us proceed with the welcoming speech to deliver the words of welcome and gratitude. Please join us in welcoming our Dean of Faculty of Agriculture and Animal Science, Professor Dr. Adis Winaya. Time is yours.
2030 to 3, which held by Faculty of Agriculture and Animal Science, University of Muhammadiyah Malang, Indonesia. Today, we have 4 speakers to this conference. And secondly, we would like to express our deepest gratitude to the Rector of University of Muhammadiyah Malang, who today is represented by the Vice Rector of Academic Affairs and Al-Islam and Muhammadiyahan. Long. Thank you, Prof. Samsul, for your coming. And also gratefully thanks to the speakers. First, for Professor Dr. Jose Solis Ramirez from Mexico. Second, Professor Dr. Engineer Budi Laksono, MP from Indonesia, PRIN. Professor Maximo Leri Lopez Caceres, PhD from Japan. And for Professor Francisco Alberto Garcia Vasquez from Spain. And also for all of the participants and presenters that will deliver their papers today. Also for the committee who have worked hard so that this event can be held successful. This event will be held and blended by online and offline. Even the COVID-19 pandemic in Indonesia is still low, but this event does not reduce the overall quality of the conference. Actually, this conference was held for the 4th time for this in this year. With the time of the conference is renewable energy and sustainable agriculture technology to support SDGs. After the previous short conference and also had been successful. To the participants, both students, lecturers, researchers, and also publics, we on behalf of the Faculty of Agriculture and Animal Science express our deepest gratitude for this support. So this conference can be held according to the schedule and will be followed by publication the paper in the proceeding and reputable indexes journals. Finally, have a nice conference. I hope it will be successful and productive. And on behalf of Faculty of Agriculture and Animal Science, we apologize if there are any inconvenience in this conference. Again, thank you very much for your attention and cooperation. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Us further into the main program on this conference, it is an honor to give opening remarks. Please join us Vice Rector for Academic and Kemuhammadiyahan UMM, Professor Dr. Samsul Arifin. Time is yours.
Thanks, but Festi, be honest, I was amazed with the pronunciation. So like British English, yeah. Beautiful, like his face, yeah. Her face. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good morning, all of participants. Hamdan wa syukran lillah, la hawla wa la quwata illa billah. Asyhadu an la ilaha illallah wa asyhadu anna Muhammadan abduhu wa rasuluhu la nabiyya ba'dah. Rabbi israh li sadri wa yassir li amri wa uqdatam min lisani yafqahu qawli. Amma ba'du. My colleague, the Honorable the Dean of the Faculty of Agriculture and Animal Science, not animal husbandry, yeah. Husbandry, it's the old version. And all of the Vice Dean 1, also my colleague, you look fresh today. And I think also beautiful like Festi. and Vice Dean 2, Pak Hanan. Pak Hanan. Yes, because sometimes I make a mistake when I call him, yeah. Pak David, yeah. I'm so sorry about that. And also Vice Dean, Pak Dr. Haryadi. And I would like to say hello also to Professor Dr. Budi Laksono. He is from National Research and Innovation Agency atau BRIN. Actually, he stay in Yogyakarta, but almost every day he is working in Jakarta. Enjoy to Malang. I think about the weather, Malang is better than Yogyakarta. Even though almost every day I feel hot. Yeah, even in the night. Yeah. So we are facing the climate change, really, truly climate change, I think. Yeah. And I want to say hello to the guys from Bali. Okay, great. How many truck from Bali? How many percent? Only 5%. Yeah. Welcome. Ya, selamat datang ya. Selamat datang. Orang Bali kan bilang selamat datang. Okay. Yeah. Okay, thank God, thank to Allah, Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alamin. And I'm so sorry, I forgot to say hello to the all of professor. Nanti kualat kalau nggak saya sapa Profesor Jabal Tariq Ibrahim alaihissalam. Yes, yes. Professor Wahendaka, hello, how are you today? Yes, I have been from swimming pool in the early. I'm looking for actually. I'm looking for you in the swimming pool. And oh, Professor Lily, you look fresh today. Good. And Professor Diarus, hello, how are you? Yeah, sudah semua sapa ya? Oh, Professor Rahayu. Good. Professor Jono, Masya Allah. Professor Elvis, yeah. Too much professor in the FPP, I think. It's a good score, I think. Record, yeah, record. Okay. Okay, thank to Allah, Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alamin. We able to attend the opening of ICANN-BID. ICANN-BID is international conference on bioenergy, environmentally agriculture technology. One of the international conference organized by the Faculty of Agriculture and Animal Science. As we know, UMM manage international conference under the umbrella of ICOSDEF. ICOSDEF is international conference on interdisciplinary collaboration for sustainable development. One of the conference chapter under ICOSDEF is ICANN-BID, which can be held until the 4th year. Ladies and gentlemen, ICOSDEP is an acronym for International Conference on Interdisciplinary Collaboration for Sustainable Development. Why UMM consider it's important to manage international conference, which are collaboration between various scientific disciplines. Plus, UMM is higher education institution that has a vision to become a leading university in the development of science and technology based on Islamic values. International conference are one manifestation or implementation of this vision. International conference are a forum for communicating and disseminating research, results, or finding of UMM lecture. One sign that a campus is carrying out science and technology development activities is research which is then disseminated through conference and published in reputable journal, both national and international. The main reason for holding this conference is in this context. The second, international conference are forum that can be used by participants to explore collaboration, to conduct joint research and publication. Therefore, I hope, especially for UMM lecture and more importantly, FPP lecture, to take advantage of this forum in developing collaboration with foreign lecture, both with the lecture both domestic or overseas. Hopefully, the hope above can be achieved in this conference. Finally, I would like to express my thanks so much first to FPP because can maintain this conference until it's 4 years. I hope that this conference will continue to be held in the future. The second, to the Scientific Publication Development Institute or LPPE because LPPE facilitated the holding of this conference. And the third, that the committee has devoted its maximum energy to holding this conference. That's all. And to start this conference, let's say together Basmalah. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Thank you. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Selamat pagi. Salam sejahtera.
Thank you for the speech, Professor Dr. Samsul Arifin. As we move forward, our discussions will be guided by our distinguished moderator as an expert in expertise. She will ensure that our sessions are insightful, engaging, and beneficial for all participants. Ladies and gentlemen, it is time for us to delve into the main session of this conference. I present you our esteemed moderators. For Ms. Citra Gilang, PhD, time is yours.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Distinguished guests and participants, thank you very much for joining us in this fruitful morning and this conference. And in this first plenary session, I would like to be the moderator for this session. And for this session, we will have two speakers. The first one is Professor Budi Laksono, and the second one is Professor Jose Solis Ramirez. So for Prof. Budi Laksono, please be on the stage. Okay. Yes. I would like to introduce to all of you for, meanwhile waiting for Professor Jose online, I would like to introduce you to Professor Budi Laksono for our first speaker today. Professor Budi is my teacher. He's my guru. So we graduated from Gajah Mada University, different year for sure, from Faculty of Forestry. And Prof. Budi has been mentoring me also for some projects and so on. So he's definitely my guru. So I so much respect him, and I thank him so much for coming to this event. And we hope we can have a new knowledge and information from him, and we can of course have fruitful discussion today. Professor Budi works in Research Center for Plant Conservation, Botanic Garden, and Forestry, and his base is in Jogja, and it is under National Research and Innovation Agency, or Badan Riset dan Inovasi Nasional, BRIN, and he is focusing his study in genetic breeding, silviculture, and restoration energy plant-based. His research was, we can find his research everywhere. So especially for Nyamplung and as well as Malapari. So he focused on those two species as one of promising plant-based for biofuel. And for us in forestry, for forestry plant-based, it is very new information, like it's very new knowledge for us to have those two species that can do that. We can develop that. And Professor Budi graduated from UGM also in tree breeding studies, and he received his PhD in Tokyo University, the University of Tokyo, Tokyo University, Todai. So and he's also my senior in Japan, because we also graduated from Japanese institution, and for that also he's my guru. So and he got his PhD in quantitative genetic, Prof. And today he will talk about biofuel development of tree plant-based industry and its challenge and opportunity in Indonesia. So we may have his talk. Is it okay? Yeah. Okay. Sorry, Prof. For actually, you are the second, but Professor Jose is not with us yet. So you have this the first opportunity. Okay. Okay. Please welcome Prof. Budi. Please have applause.
Thank you, Ibu Citra. Ibu Citra is our partner in collaboration with C4N Craft. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Distinguished Vice Rector and Dean of Agriculture and Animal Science Faculty, University of Muhammadiyah Malang. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. It is a pleasure to be here today to discuss concerning the recent development in new and renewable energy, particularly stemming from the forestry sector. In this reason, I would like to share you an overview about biofuel development based on forestries in Indonesia, highlighting both the challenges and opportunities. And I am excited about the chance to share valuable insight and information on this important topic. Next. As we are aware, the global energy crisis in 2006, due to the scarcity of fossil fuel, leading to increased fuel prices, has prompted the world to emphasize the importance of biofuel that are environmentally friendly. And 2 years prior, the Asian Wall Street Journal highlight Indonesian status as a net oil importer, as the amount of oil imported for domestic fuel need had exceeded the quantity that could be exported. And the condition of importing petroleum continued to rise while the quantity exported continued to decline. Why should we switch to biofuel? Next. Previous slide, please. Yes, thank you. Why should we switch to biofuel? There are at least 4 reasons why fossil fuel should be replaced with renewable energy sources. This include the dwindling potential of fossil fuel, the potential increase in carbon dioxide gas contributing to global warming, and the combustion process of fossil fuel leading to increased air pollution, which can cause various health problems. And additionally, it causes soil and water pollution involving many chemicals, hindering the growth of microbes and plants. On the other hand, biofuel represent a renewable and sustainable energy source. They can decrease carbon emission, improve air quality, and adhere to principles such as green energy, green economy, green technology, and environmentally friendly product to achieve sustainable development goals or SDGs. Next. And in response to this, the Indonesian government through its initial national energy policy, regulation number 5 of 2006 set a target percentage of new renewable energy at 5% of the national energy demand by 2025. However, 8 years later, this policy was revised with regulation number 74 of 2014, aiming for a blend target of 23% of the national energy demand from new and renewable energy sources by 2025, increasing to 31% by 2050 due to the continuous decline of fossil fuel. And presently, the mandatory B35, as we know, has been implemented nationwide in Indonesia since February 1, 2023. Indonesia is also recognized as the world's first country to adopt biodiesel with high content. And in the same year, next slide, please. Sorry, previous slide, please. Next, yes. In the same year, the President of Indonesia tasked the Ministry of Environment and Forestry to play a crucial role in providing raw material for biofuel and granted explicit permission for the use of unproductive forest land for further biofuel development. This include land such as ex-burn areas, former mining site, degraded peatland, and other degraded lands. And that policy was also driven. Next, please. And the policy was also driven by the improving and steadily decreasing rate of deforestation in Indonesia until 2017, attributed to land and forest rehabilitation program, as well as improved forest governance, which needed to be sustained. In 2020, the Minister of Environment and Forestry revealed that the fact of Indonesian deforestation rate were the lowest in the history of forest monitoring in the country. We can see in the picture. But as 2022, there are still 12.23 million hectares of degraded land in Indonesia that need rehabilitation by 2030. Alongside Indonesia's commitment in the National Determined Contribution on NDC document, which include a target to reduce greenhouse gas emission by 31% on 2030 and achieve net zero emission by 2060. Next. And to achieve net zero emission, efforts to mitigate climate change by reducing carbon emission while maintaining energy resilience are necessary. The most significant mitigation action in reducing greenhouse gas emission in the energy sector involve the development of new and renewable energy as the transitional step toward cleaner, low emission, and environmentally friendly energy. And as a tropical country, exceptionally rich in biodiversity of flora, Indonesia holds immense potential in developing renewable energy for biofuel production. As depicted in the slide, we can see raw material for biofuel can be obtained from different of plants for each species, including seed for of various plants like oil palm, cauliflower or nyamplung, pongamia or malapari and other species. And as an environmentally friendly fuel, in the next slide. Yeah, biofuel technology is continuously being developed to make its production more efficient and meet the demand of numerous consumers, similar to fossil fuel. Here is you can see in the slide, the progression of biofuel from generation to generation. In the first generation until now, you can see we know about the feedstock derived from food crops and vegetables, such as palm oil, corn, sugarcane, etc. We know the seed sour as edible oil. And the second generation feedstock obtained from the non-food crops, for instance, calophyllum, pongamia, wood biomass, agricultural waste, and etc. Recognized as non-edible oil. And the third generation feedstock derived from algae and other microorganisms. And in the fourth generation, feedstock sourced from genetically modified organisms to enhance energy content and conversion efficiency. And today we will discuss biofuel derived from non-edible oil sources. Next slide. There are quite a variety of forestry species that have potential as raw material for biofuel. From previous literature and research, we can observe the potential food productivity and oil content in the following slide. It is apparent that the potential of these forest trees varies significantly. Therefore, it is essential to select the most promising ones with high adaptability to diverse environmental conditions. The oil produced should meet standard biofuel requirements and be efficient as biofuel stock. And when the research began, next slide, please. When the research began 15 years ago, several limitations and threats posed challenges in developing forest trees as non-edible oil biofuel sources. Please, next slide. However, due to the future energy need, the challenges were seen as opportunities to seek solution. Among the 10 challenges faced at the time as presented in the slide, the first, the limited feedstock and replicability on an industrial scale have not been proven at that time. Large-scale cultivation of biofuel raw material from forestry species has not yet been established. And two, the age at which biofuel plants begin fruiting is quite long, and they don't bear fruit all year around. And three, the productivity and quality of seed sources for biofuel have not been tested. The productivity and quality of seed sources also for biofuel also have not been tested. And for biofuel rotation, forest required extensive land, and the available land at that time is unproductive. And five, climate change threatens the viability of tree growth and food production. And next, yes, and number six, the production cost of biofuel is still high. And the suitable of machine for forest-derived biofuel blends has not been tested. And seven, the investment cost for establishing a biofuel industry is very high. There is no domestic industry protection against free market yet, and the buyer and off-taker for that time, at the time for biofuel derived from forest trees are still limited. And number 10, the research of biofuel-based forestry is still conducted separately and has not been integrated from upstream to downstream. However, in opportunities in the next slide, in this development, the opportunities for development of non-edible oil biofuel from forest trees have significantly increased due to the rapid advance of scientific knowledge and the global demand for biofuel. And 10 significant opportunities are highlighted in the following slide. The first, global demand for biofuel continued to rise, 1.68 million barrels per day in 2020, and this following the scenario for net zero emission entails global biofuel consumption reaching 6 million barrels per day by 2030 and 7 million barrels per day by 2050. And the global demand for bio-aviation fuel or sustainable aviation fuel or SAF is projected to be 450 million liter per year from 2030 to 2050, exceeding the supply by at least 25%. And the world commitment to achievement net zero emission by 2050 is very high, including from the renewable energy sector, which stand as a primary agenda at the United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change Conference, or COP28, will held in Dubai next week. And third, the demand for collaboration from buyer and off-taker of non-edible oil biofuel with Indonesian parties is starting to come in. And fourth, producing non-edible biofuel from priority forest trees is economical viable, because all many company from outside overseas will collaborate with us because they already calculate about the economically viable and worth pursuing of development of biofuel from forest trees. And five, the land available from the development of biofuel feedstock is extensive and backed by the Indonesian government policies under the Energy Forest Plantation Program. And number six, there are numerous potential forest species, as we know in previous slide, for non-edible oil and also for development of biofuel with high food productivity and oil yield. Seven, natural stand on active species and potential for expanding the biofuel availability. And if some species are tolerant of critical lengths, they have a long production period, more than 35 years, and accumulate high carbon stock within their biomass. And nine, the technology for thank you. And nine, the technology in intensive silviculture, biofuel processing and utilization of industrial waste from forestry biofuel were have mastered and tested to comply with the Biofuel National Standard, or NSNE. And then research and innovation in production process of effective and efficient biofuel are still being developed, such as red-white catalyst. And related to the priority forest trees for biofuel production, in the next slide, please. Next slide, please. Yes. The study results have identified several highly potential species for non-edible oil biofuel due to their rapid fruiting, high seed productivity, and oil yield. Moreover, silvicultural technique and oil processing into biodiesel have been mastered. Nyamplung or Calophyllum inoculum and Malapari pungamia pinnata have been, please, previous slide, not finished yet. Yes. Nyamplung or Calophyllum inoculum and Malapari pungamia pinnata have been designated as two priority species of forest trees. Next, we will present the roadmap and the research finding obtained over 15 years, along with the development initiated this year to address the challenges and opportunities in the development of biofuel from forest trees. And from roadmap, you can see research and development of forest trees-based biofuel aiming to produce plantation for biofuel with high food productivity and oil yield were conducted in 3 stages outlined in the slide. From 2008 to 2013, it included activities such as identifying natural stand and plantation, genetic diversity analysis or DNA analysis, establishing genetic resource area, variation in biofuel content, such as crude oil, refined crude oil and biodiesel, and utilizing industrial waste. In the second step, from 2010 to 2022, it involved activities like silviculture techniques and plantation trial on marginal and degraded land, Provenance rare across 8 islands in Indonesia. Provenance seed stand derived from the best population in Java Island and progeny test from the best provenance on Java Island. And the last step from 2013, from 2023 to 2030, it includes activities such as developing the best population for the best provenance in Indonesia, establishing plantation and local seed source on an industrial scale, implementing priority species plantation on an industrial scale, and development on biofuel industry model, greenhouse forestries, and development of biotechnology for effective and efficient biofuel production. And the next slide, we can show about the advantage of color film, inofilm for biofuel production. The summary of research result of the species color film elephant can be seen in the following slide. The species is native and widely distributed in Indonesia region from 0 to 300 meter above sea level. And the species also tolerant in degraded wet and dry land as well as in saline land. The calophyllum long life cycle, bearing fruit throughout the year with high fruit productivity from 15 to 20 tons per hectare per year. And this producing dependent on soil fertility. This species also categorize non-food or non-edible oil and high oil yield about 40 to 85% depending on the origin of the feedstock and oil processing technique. Biofuel potential from this species are also capable of producing biodiesel and also bioaviation fuel, and oil processing has been mastered. Utilization of industrial waste is known and high economic value. We also conduct silviculture technique for development of calophyllum inofilum in several locations, and the silviculture technique also have been mastered. And carbon stock accumulated in high biomass, we already start for research about that. And when we know about the detailed information of calophyllum inofilum in Indonesia, in the next slide, please. Calophyllum is native plant, widely distributed across Indonesia, spanning from Sumatra in the west to Papua in the east, and from Java Island in the south to Kalimantan Island in the north. Its habitat primarily lies along the coast and border lowland forests, and naturally it grows in marginal sandy coastal areas and exhibited tolerant to salinity and thriving in clay soil with good drainage. However, it can also grow in harsh environment conditions, such as rocky terrain, limestone soil, and soil with seasonal waterlogging, as depicted in the image. Studies were conducted on 12 population, calophyllum population from 8 islands in Indonesia, as we can see in the slide. And about genetic diversity in the next slide. Understanding the genetic diversity of calophyllum population is crucial for genetic improvement. DNA analysis using RAPD has been employed to assess genetic diversity within the sample population from 12 population, calophyllum in the population in Indonesia. The analysis result indicate that the calophyllum population in Java Island can be divided into 2 clusters with a significant level of 99%, and 7 population from 7 islands in Indonesia can also be divided into 2 clusters, as we can see in the slide, with a significant level of 89%. This DNA analysis result serves as the basis for consideration in genetic conservation and breeding strategy for calophyllum. Next. Yeah. And then genetic conservation is carried out to maintain the purity of the calophyllum population in Indonesia in anticipation of future forest damage. Therefore, the establishment of genetic resource area were conducted in several locations, such as Bali Island, Kalimantan Island, and also Java Island, involving 5 provenances from prospective calophyllum population. And to determine the crude oil yield, in the next slide, from the seed of plant species, 3 oil extraction methods can be employed. one hydraulic press method using a vertical hot press, two mechanical press method using the screw press expeller, and three solvent method using a chocolate extractor as depicted in the slide. And the crude oil yield may differ depending on seed quality, extraction method, and equipment quality used. However, this crude oil will produce the same biodiesel, differing only in the processing required due to the differing properties of the oil and also cost of biodiesel processing. And the variation of biofuel potential in the next slide, we can see variation of biofuel potential from 7 calophyllum population across 7 islands in Indonesia. We can see in the slide the seed pressing process to determine crude oil and refine crude oil with different two type of equipment, vertical hot press and a screw press, involving sample from 3 calophyllum population. Seed from the same population when processed using a screw press resulted in crude oil content about 50%, reaching 13% higher than when using a vertical hot press. This indicates that the method and equipment used will also affect the oil yield produced. Meanwhile, the crude oil content from 7 islands using the screw press tool varied from 50 to 58%, with the highest biofuel content from Sumbawa, West Nusa Tenggara. In the slide, you can see at 58%. This also demonstrates that calophyllum biofuel higher compared to other forest trees. The processing of calophyllum biodiesel, also we can see in the site, is carried out through the stage of degumming, esterification, trans-esterification, washing, and drying. And the biodiesel yield obtained varies among islands due to genetic and environmental factor. And the biodiesel produced from these 7 islands, after undergoing physical chemical testing, has met the standard parameters of Indonesian National Standard for Biodiesel. And after that, the biodiesel, in the next slide, the biodiesel produced from this 7 islands was subsequently tested for its physical chemical properties at the Oil and Gas Training Institute, or LEMIGAS, and has met the standard parameter of Indonesian National Standard for Biodiesel. Following that, the produced biodiesel underwent a test drive by the Ministry of Environment and Forestry and also other high-ranking officials. And the calophyllum biodiesel processing, the next slide, inevitably generate waste, including both solid and liquid waste, which requires solution for its utilization. The waste from the biodiesel processing can be utilized to create various products, such as charcoal, briquette, liquid smoke, animal feed, compost, soap, medicine, and cosmetic. Additionally, this waste can increase the economic value of biodiesel industry waste utilization while simultaneously reducing environment pollution. And having identified the potential of Nyambung for biofuel production in the next slide, it is essential to employ appropriate silvicultural technique to develop this plant, enabling it grow optimally, bear fruit quickly, and enhance fruit productivity on oil yield. In relation of this, research has been conducted of plant propagation, use both generative and vegetative propagation, encompassing both macro and micro propagation method for the long-term development of the plant. Calophyllum, Inophyllum plants can easily to propagate using both of this technique. And a series of plantation trial and established of superior. In the next slide, you can see a series potential plantation trial and established of superior seed sources have been conducted to obtain the best silvicultural technique and achieve high fruit productivity. The studies were conducted on mineral soil as well as degraded land, such as periodical fluided mineral soil, acidic soil, limestone rock soil, exburn land, and also degraded peatland across Indonesia. Research findings indicate that calophyllum grows well and exhibited tolerance on degraded land. In the next slide, we can see the influence of environment condition on fruiting season of calophyllum is highly significant. But with the application of intensive silviculture, better growth, and an earlier fruiting season occurred, according to the information provided by communities cultivation curriculum in their field. The first fruiting season, we can see in the slide, on fertile mineral soil start at the age of 2 years, while on degraded land, fruiting begin at the age of 3 to 4 years after planting. These results are much earlier than what farmers have reported, suggesting that calophyllum start fruiting at the age 7 to 9 years. And the calophyllum population from Gunung Kidul in Yogyakarta, in the next slide, please, known for having the highest oil yield on Java Island, and was chosen to establish a provenance stand in Wonogiri, Central Java, aimed to producing improved seeds. After the seed stand bearing fruit, the oil produced from this improved seed can increase by 14% compared to the original seed source. You can see in the slide that using the same pressed equipment, the oil content increased 14% compared to the original seed source. And this yield can be further increased by up to 19% with the better press tool and can reach until 85 to 87% using sulfur method as indicated in the following table. The meaning is that beside the tool and extraction method utilized, genetic factor or the original seed quality can also enhance the oil yield produced. And cropping pattern, when we develop the biofuel plantation in the field, in the next slide, please. Among the planting pattern implemented in forestry areas to optimize land and increase the income of communities surrounding the forest, agroforestry and minerals in mineral soil and agro-silvo fishery on wetland, we can apply it. Calophyllum as a plant species tolerant to wetland holds significant potential for developing using both of these planting patterns. Consequently, this pattern have been implemented in calophyllum plantation in several locations, proving their capability to yield product for various from various commodities and enhance the land's value. Furthermore, beekeeping within calophyllum stand also increasing the economic value of the land and the local community as calophyllum blossom and bear fruit throughout the year. And when we want to know about the allometric and carbon stock, calophyllum is one of the multi-purpose species, as it not only holds potential as a biofuel feedstock, but also exhibited high carbon absorption capacity. Therefore, the species is highly promising for climate change mitigation. Another advantage is calophyllum tolerant to the degraded land, and its produce can be harvested without tree cutting, allowing its ability to absorb carbon from the atmosphere to last longer. Preliminary studies on allometric and carbon stock in calophyllum have been conducted, indicating that the carbon storage in both plant biomass and each component, as well as in soil organic carbon, does not differ among calophyllum provenance from each island in Indonesia. Further studies are still necessary to obtain more accurate results from various regions and different planting patterns. And the second species, the second priority species is Pongamia. The summary of research result on the second priority forests in the next slide, please. Can be seen in the following slide. Pongamia, please. Next slide. Yep. The species is native and widely distributed in Indonesia region from 0 to 1,200 meters above sea level. And also tolerant in degraded land, especially in dry land, as well as saline land. The species also fast-growing species, legume crop that can fix nitrogen from the air. And the potential of seed from this species is very high for production, about 9 to 15 tons per hectare per year, and this is dependent on oil cell fertility and categorized non-food or non-edible oil. The oil yield about 25 to 30%, depending on the origin of the feedstock and oil processing technique. Oil processing also has been mastered for this species. Biofuel potential also for biodiesel and bioaviation fuel, and the silviculture technique have been mastered. And the natural distribution of Pongamia in Indonesia, in the next slide, we can see that Pongamia is also widely found across all islands, but is primarily concentrated in the west of the Walase line, notably in provinces such as South Sumatra, Banten, West Java, East Java, and East Nusa Tenggara. And studies on Pongamia oil content in Indonesia have revealed that forests in Ujung Kulon National Park in Banten province produce seed with higher oil content compared to the Pongamia stand in East Java and also from West Java using simple mechanical pressing tool. And consequently, a subsequent study aimed to determine the variation in oil yield among individual trees. Samples were collected from 48 individual trees in Ujung Kulon using several methods. And this analysis served as the basis for establishing Pongamia seeding seed orchard in the 3 locations. And the crude oil content for Pongaya in the next slide, you can see the Pongamia oil content from the 3 provenances extracted using the simple mechanical screw press expeller is, we can see in the slide. The finding revealed in average of oil content potential of 14% from the dry seed weight. There is considerable variation in oil content among the 3 provenances, ranging from 13 to 16%. Notably, the highest oil content was observed in the Ujung Kulon National Park, Banten province. The substantial difference in oil content among the 3 provenances sample suggests that an enhancement program involving selecting breeding among Pongamia provenances will be highly effective and feasible for implementation. And in order to ascertain the maximum oil potential of Pongamia seed, in the next slide, please. Yeah, we can see the Pongamia seed from the Ujung Kulon provenance, a thorough assessment of the oil content was conducted using enhanced equipment and methodologies. This involved employing 2 distinct methods, one using a fabric screw press expeller or mechanical pressing technique, and 2, a chocolate extractor or solvent-based approach. These 2 apparatuses yielding significantly higher oil extraction rate compared to the previously utilized screw press technology, showing an increase up to 25% with the fabricant screw press expeller and a substantial 143% higher with the chocolate extractor. This information underscores that the disparities in oil content are influenced not solely by genetic factor, but also by the processing method employed and the quality of the equipment utilized in the extraction process. And the raw material content using the 2 identical extraction method in the next slide is, yeah, we can see previous in a previously conducted by another researcher is, we can see in the slide that this data is included in our article that was published 2 years ago. And finally, in the next slide, regarding the development of research results on an industrial scale that will commence in this year, activities will be carried out in collaboration with partners from the Energy Plantation Forest Company and Forest Planting Seeding Company. The first will be developed with the partner using the developing the base population from the base provenance Indonesia with Calophyllum and Pongamia species, covering an area of 115 hectares in Merauke, South Papua. And the second will establishing plantation and local seed sources on an industrial scale with Pongamia species covering an area 600 hectares in Lembata, East Nusa Tenggara. And the last one, implementing priority species plantation on industrial scale and developing a biofuel industry model based on forestries with Calophyllum and Pongamia species covering an area of 2,000 hectares per year in Kapuas, Central Kalimantan. And we hope that everything will run smoothly and require support from all parties involved. And as conclusion, we can see that, next please, next slide please, yeah. As conclusion, we can summarize that Calophyllum and Pongamia have the potential to produce non-edible oil biofuel with high fruit productivity and oil yield, meeting the requirement of the biodiesel national standard. By implementing intensive silviculture, the species can bear fruit starting from 3 to 2 years of the production process, and additionally, the utilizing of industrial biofuel waste can enhance the added value in the biofuel business. Calophyllum and Pongamia have been tested on a laboratory scale and meet the requirement for sustainable aviation fuel or SAF, in addition to being biodiesel producer. And the development of Calophyllum and Pongamia based biofuel will commence this year with an experimentary model of the biofuel industry, utilizing master biofuel production technology and fostering an investment climate and partnership collaboration as insurance for biofuel product marketing. Effective and efficient integrated upstream to downstream research and innovation must persist for the development of biofuel industry based on forestries. And the last one, upholding the government commitment to biofuel development and strengthening policy aspects are crucial to achieving energy independence and sustainable development goal or SDGs in the biofuel sector. That's all of my presentation, and thank you for your kind attention. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Thank you very much, Prof. Budi. I believe all of us have a lot of questions and considerations about Prof. Budi's research. Okay, so my highlights from Professor Budi presentation is that there are some potentials species that we definitely can explore more about expanding the biofuel development, not only in forestry, I think, but also in other aspects, as we will talk about that later on. And as Professor Yose already with us online, so I will introduce you to all. Professor Jose Solis Ramirez, apologize for mispronunciation. He is from the Autonomous University of Chapingo, Mexico. His specialty is in animal genetic and husbandry, and he's been working for that for over 40 years. And he has really high experience in the university and international administrative, especially in the Department of Zootechnics. As we will listen to his talk today, he will give the presentation about the genetic resources to face climate change and sustainable animal protein genetic resource to face climate change and sustainable animal protein production demand in the world. So for from our colleague who are in this field, it will be really nice to listen to his talk, Professor Yose's talk. So Professor Yose, are you with us? Maybe can you say something?
Yes, I am here. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Hello, good morning. Night. Good night. Good evening, sorry.
Good night.
Hello, how are you?
Very good. Thank you. Can
Thank
you
for
hear me?
joining. Yes, yes, we can hear you very well.
Excellent. Very good.
Okay.
I am trying to use my slides from here, sharing my screen.
Okay, yes, please share the screen. This is your time, so I will give the stage to you. Please, Professor Yose.
Thank you very much. May I share my screen, please? Okay. Okay, it's here. Great. Okay, it's okay now?
Yes, we can see the
Yes,
slide.
it's okay? Okay. That's it. Okay, thank you very much. Well, I have to thank to you for your invitation and your kind introduction as speaker of this relevant conference. Yeah, I would like to give a special thanks to the authorities of the University of Muhammadiyah, Malang, and to the Dean of the Faculty of Agriculture and Animal Science, Dr. Iris Vinaya, of course, to the all organizing committee and all people involved in the organization of this relevant conference. My pleasure to participate in this fourth international conference. And so I just before start speaking about using genetic resources to face climate change and sustainable animal protein production demand in the world, a special speaking on a study case of us in Mexico and other holistic genetic improvement programs in this case. Yes, because of this, I would like to share a little bit because I am a little bit away from you. So you are in Indonesia and I am in Mexico. And so this is Indonesia is over here and you are over there, somewhere over there in that beautiful country. And I am over here. This is Mexico. It's located in North America, and I'm in this part of the world. So we are just a few kilometers away each other, but I feel like I am with you right now. So thank you very much again for this nice invitation and to have the pleasure to participate in this international conference. So now let's start about the using of genetic resources. And let me tell you that there are many information about trends of food production worldwide. And for example, I put some data in here about the extension in billion hectares. This is 1 billion hectares, around 11% of the total surface of the planet are used today for food production. And unfortunately, the growth rate of agricultural production is being falling down and is expected to continue until 2050. And this is unfortunately because the population is not stopping the growth, is still growing the human population, and we need to produce more food, and the trends are not very good. However, genetic improvement is doing a lot of things and more efficient plants, more efficient animals, but still we need lots of work. In developing countries, as you know, the population grow, the human population is growing still very much, especially in Africa, and growing wheat yields has fallen also from about 50% in 1980 to 2000% in 2005. Growing rice productivity failed also from 3.2 to 1.2% in the same period. And corn yield also 3.1 to 1%. So the losses are less now than before, but still we need to take care about that. Protein production as milk and meat is increasing 3 and 4 times since 1961, with around 980 and 351 million tons in 2021. The most popular milk, as we know, in the world is cow milk, followed by buffalo milk, goat milk, sheep milk, and camel milk. While the most popular meat globally is poultry, and after pork, beef, and mutton. So there is many things to do. In this way, we need to name some agricultural challenges And these agriculture challenges that we are facing right now is about, as I just mentioned, something about the population growth, the limited economic growth in the world, and especially in many countries or developing countries, competition for natural resources. See, yes, primary industry, secondary industry, they are competing to use the resources, minerals, water, and plants, trees, and the challenge of climate change, productivity and innovation is still limited. Transboundary pests and diseases, we just passed the SARS-CoV-2 pandemic, conflicts, crises, and natural disasters. As you know, unfortunately, we have two big conflicts in the world right now. And just a few weeks ago, Mexico was struck by the strongest hurricane in the history of the country, a Category 5, striking straight in the one of the main ports of Mexico is Acapulco, and with terrible consequences. But so it's just an example what we are facing right now. And of course, we know about the poverty, inequality, and food insecurity, aspects so relevant in the world. Food losses and waste. Mexico is losing about 25,000 tons per year, which is enough to feed the population 1 month. So this is something very, very unlucky for the world. That we have still some hungers in many places of the world, and we are still losing lots of food and wasting many products suitable to feed people. We need also to think about the profitable production, because farmers, producers are working for money, are working because they need goods, they need food, they need many things to live, to improve the standard of living. So profitable is also very important when we are producing. Profit is very important. Production of healthy foods, organic, ecological, green. This is a demand of worldwide for healthy foods, healthy products, and organics, ecological, and green. Different names that they receive, but at the end of the day, they want healthy food. And just to mention to you, I'm pretty sure you are very familiar with Agenda 2030 and all the Sustainable Development Goals, which is one of the main aims of this relevant conference today and tomorrow. So we need to take into account and to look and work and take actions to work hand by hand with FAO, with all the other countries to face the problems around the world, these challenges. Some issues important to attend in the agenda also is the current trends in land and water use. Unplanned agricultural expansion is a very big problem, severe soil degradation, and excessive use of fresh water, and excessive use of pesticides and fertilizers have damaged water quality and biodiversity. In agricultural activity, also integrated and more effective disease and pest management approaches must be adopted using a combination of all available techniques and not just pesticides. Also, I should mention that this may include precision agriculture, intercropping, cover crops, biological solutions, the use of remote sensors, native Creole and improved seeds, depending on the location, and other advances brought about by artificial intelligence. So we have many issues to think about. And also the effects of climate change show that the effects will be heterogeneous. This means that within a country, we can have different effects of the increase of temperature, and also between countries, of course. And then can also be extremely large. And as you know, greenhouse gases must be mitigated while adaptation to climate change is promoted. And this is a very important role that we need to recognize to biodiversity. The world will have to shift to more sustainable food systems that make efficient use of land, water, and other inputs, and reduce the use of fossil fuels, leading to dramatic cuts in greenhouse gas emissions and a reduction of waste, reduction of the ecological footprint that is important to think about for each one of us. And another point and relevant points are the intensive agriculture places numerous pressures on land and soil, including pollution, erosion, and compactation due to heavy agricultural machinery. There are many studies highlighting how widespread the residues of chemicals used in pesticides and fertilizers are. Regarding some chemical substances, such as copper and cadmium, soil samples from some areas reflect especially critical levels. The excess of nutrients, nitrogen and phosphorus, for example, has altered life in lakes, rivers, and seas. And we need to take care about that. And finally, the long-term agricultural productivity of the soil depends on its overall health. This means, and unfortunately, if we continue to use this source as we currently do, for example, use of fire and chemicals that damage soil microfauna, we will continue reducing its ability to produce enough feed and food sustainable for human consumption. After this, just to start mentioning something about the use of genetic resources for sustainable food production, taking into account these last slides, we need to think about these possibilities of use of genetic resources for sustainable food production. Improving resource use efficiency. This means through genetic selection, it is possible to develop crops and livestock that use resources such as water and nutrients more efficiently, thus reducing the environmental footprint of agriculture. And genetic selection for efficient use of food and water is one of the important research lines to follow. Selection of crops resistant to climate stress. Using genetic resources to identify and develop crop varieties resistant to extreme climatic conditions, such as droughts, floods, or high temperatures, is important. These varieties can help ensure food security in changing climatic conditions. And as you may know, cactaceae, agaves, yucca, and some cereals like mijo, panicum, miliacum, and sorghum can help us to face the hunger and undernutrition around the world. Also, ecosystem restoration. This is a very important point because there is lots of destruction of ecosystems around the world. And to bring them back to the original ecosystem is not an easy task. It is really hard, and we think just to try to conserve it right now. So using native plants and trees that are genetically suitable for the restoration of degraded ecosystems could be an important goal to think about. This can help to restore biodiversity and improve the ability of ecosystems to capture carbon and mitigate climate change. Another important point on breeding are breeding health, heat efficient, resistant livestock. And the next one is the marine resource management. This means the salty and sweet water animals or plants need to be worked, and nitrogen fixation. For the first point about the breeding and heat-resistant livestock, efficient, develop or use livestock genotypes, resistant to heat stress. I mean, for example, Creole, local, or native breeds, which is crucial in a world of rising temperatures. These animals can be more productive and require fewer resources to stay healthy. About the marine resource management, thinking about conserve and manage the genetic resources of marine organisms to ensure the sustainability of fisheries and aquaculture, thereby contributing to global food security and climate change mitigation through low carbon food production. In nitrogen fixation, we are thinking always when we see this statement, we think leguminous. Use of leguminous plants and nitrogen fixing bacteria to improve soil fertility without the need for chemical fertilizers, which reduces the carbon footprint of agriculture and decreases water pollution. So these points are very important, together with the conservation of endangered species and recovery of traditional varieties. Conservation of endangered species means to protect and preserve plant and animal species in danger of extinction or at risk, since this may be critically important in the adaptation of ecosystems to changing climate conditions. In recovering the traditional varieties, this issue is important because we need to rescue and promote traditional crop varieties that have fallen into disuse, but that can be valuable in adapting to climate change due to their genetic diversity and resilience. And finally, we have another 2 points: the carbon sequestration research and the development of agroforestry and agro-pastoral systems. What does it mean? Is that we can extend. Professor Budilla already speak plenty about this agroforestry situation. I only think that together with agroforestry and agro-silvopastoral systems could be a very, very good action, combining crops, trees, and animals together, 3 of them, and or just trees and crops for food. I think both agroforestry and agro-silvopastoral systems are very helpful for people and to keep biodiversity in the systems. So this is some of them, the important issues to think and take into account. One case of study that I would like to share with you is the work that we have been done for the Chapingo Creole sheep breed. We have been working in this issue. We have been working in this breed for almost 30 years. In these 30 years, we have been working collecting animals from 11 states. Mexico is divided in 32 states, and we collect from 11 states. And I will tell you that the 11 states are with a wide range of agroecological systems. So these animals keep in the genotype genes for many different agroecological conditions. And also these animals are been about 500 years in Mexico. Just after the Spaniards, when they colonized Mexico, they bring them to Mexico and start developing. But they were isolated for all this time, more, I will say, about 500 years. In all this time, they were keep in that condition, isolated with indigenous people and with small producers. And so we take from all the diverse agroecological conditions and put together in a genetic pool to study in the university. And does it means to take it and study about them? That the first thing is that these animals have been in a very for the 30 years in the university, we have not applied any kind of chemicals, no vaccinations, no antiparasites, no antibiotics to these animals to keep them free of chemicals, and also as a candidates for organic production, and also thinking about to use them for sustainable production systems, cycling in the ecosystems. So this is a genotype adapted for many years in Mexico, putting together and working to improve and get a breed suitable for small producers, indigenous in different areas of the country. So in this sense, biodiversity for animal production under limited resources is one of the main goals for us. We want to develop the breed, take it from the different ecosystems, agroecological regions, put it together, keep the genetically adapted conditions for parasites and diseases, and take them back for the producers with low inputs to produce protein. So these animals has been working good in arid, semi-arid, flat, mountainous, temperature, cold agroecological regions, and can be used to produce indoor or outdoor systems. Just some figures about these animals compared with Suffolk breed. Suffolk is a very popular breed to produce meat in Mexico, and the Creole breed, Creole sheep is used also for meat mainly, but also for fiber. The indigenous people, the original groups, ethnic people, use the fiber to produce handicrafts and clothes for them, mainly those people living in cold areas. So in the case of parasite studies, we infestate experimentally with Haemonchus contortus eggs, and we measure along the time the resilience of both breeds, and we see the results. Very significant difference in the number of eggs per gram of feces in Suffolk and Creole breed. Very significant difference, and this also means important difference in the cluster cell volume. This is the proportion of red blood cells divided by blood volume, which is an indicator of also health in the animal. So this is important, and this is the trend of the infection of the Haemonchus contortus on the animal. So we can see that always there is difference with Suffolk being inoculated with Haemonchus contortus always was with more eggs, but the important difference start about 11 week start being much more different. So this means a very important resilience of the Suffolk, the Creole sheep compared with Suffolk breed. Reproductive traits, this is some of them. Now, estrous cycles per ewe per year. We have about 12.7 estrous cycles per ewe per year in average. Some of them with low number of estrous cycles, and low, and other very high. So for example, interval between consecutive estrus, a mean of 18.5 days, and with 12 days between estrus, another 22 days between estrus. And so, as you can see, there is very important characteristics showing that we can produce with these animals all along the year. But the important activity, reproduction activity being in October, November, December, January, the highest reproduction activity, and the lowest in March, April, and May. But these figures show us that the trend with this part over here with the low activity and the highest activity most of the time of the year. What we think is that if we have a very good management program, we can avoid this area because they are about 3 months. If our animals are synchronized and we can organize a good reproduction program, and our animals can be pregnant over this time to start another to lamb after the low activity and lambing over here, and then start again getting pregnant later. So I think it's important to have an understanding of the breeding season of the animals. And some studies about the composition trait, carcass composition traits in here is, for example, again, comparing with Suffolk Criollo, we have a total fat weight in here, and it's the same over here for Creole, and total bone weight, and back thickness and weight of the weight of the fat around the kidney. This is the perirenal fat. So you can see there is very big difference in the weight of the fat around the kidney, and also in the back thickness and the total bone. And also Criollo show more fat than Suffolk, but we think that this is a first study. We think this is going to change this part over here because I think we, at the beginning with this experiment, we have some confusion, some genes mixed with the Criollo, and not was the Criollo as pure as we were thinking. So that could be a confusing part in here. But the response that we saw in the trait weight of the fat around the kidney, this is a very interesting trait because many breeds around the world, mainly breeds living in the arid or desert areas, tend to keep a lot of fat around the implantation of the tail or in the tail itself to survive. So this is a trait of survival for these animals, and Criollo sheep survive in a very limited conditions, also of mainly food and veterinary attention, sanitary attention in this. So it's very likely that the Criollo sheep accumulation of fat in the kidney is a result of survival performance of the animals, because we need to think in here that these animals are being not genetically improved, and they work for survival mainly, not for production, and that could explain many of the low performance of the breed. Now, speaking about the animal production system itself, traditionally, we were thinking that animal production system is a function of nutrition, reproduction, genetics, health, sanitary management, principally. So these factors are the more important. In the school, always teach us that those are the most important factors. But now thinking about the environment and quality and quantity of production and care of the environment and the production system, we need to think about the nature-friendly production. We need to include the marketing and commercialization in the production system, what we are going to produce, what is the demand, etc., and also the culture around where we are going to produce. For Mexico, for example, it's very important to think about the culture of the people, breeding animals, breeding sheep, breeding goats, or breeding other species, because culture is an important issue to take into account. And now, as you know, animal welfare and general practices to produce are important also. And not forget to keep always the health and sanitary management. So now the genetic resources and improvement in the production system is an input, a very relevant input that we need to take into account. All this over here is factors affecting directly the animal production system. We cannot think in the animal production system without thinking in the market, without thinking in the offer and demand of the products, the payment system. All this will help us to start thinking in a modern and holistic animal genetic improvement. So what do we do? What do we need to? What do we need? The best genetic improvement program as part of a sustainable animal protein production system. Why is that question? Well, if we want to ensure a secure food supply, particularly in terms of protein production, to feed the global population, it is crucial to develop a modern and sustainable breeding plan. This plan should take into account various traits such as production, reproduction, and functional ones, along with other relevant information that affects the overall production system. By doing so, we can strive to achieve the highest level of profitability for farmers. And this also means that or take us to the definition of a genetic improvement program. If we want to take into account all the factors around the production system, we need to think about the modern, holistic, or comprehensive genetic improvement program, which can be defined as a modern, holistic animal genetic improvement program is one that has favorable and sustainable changes in the generational average of efficiency, productivity, and profitability of the animal enterprise. And we are sure that, and we have no doubt about that the results must be measured in terms of net economic benefit for farmers. And in this way, Harris and Gary proposed a diagram about the steps of a modern genetic improvement program. And they show us that the goal, we need to define clearly a goal. We need, and the goal will take us to define of the selection objectives, define a selection criteria, designing of improvement scheme, a system of gene dissemination, make economic analysis, and then if we are doing things right, we will continue around. But if we, with the economic analysis, things change in the production system according with the elements in the production system, we need to reorganize the production, the plan. We need to organize again and start improving our program. So we need to be alert about this, because finally, some aspects to consider, and I will say some of them, is to know the production system. When I have a chance to talk with farmers and I ask them if they know their animals, and most of them say, yes, I know my animals, I have many animals and I have this and this. But when I ask them, and how much do you earn from each of them? How much do you earn per ton of dry matter intake in your animals? They don't know. They don't know because they have a very gross figures. They don't know exactly what so probably they are losing money, but they are still happy or they have maybe other income. So it's very important to know the production system. It's very important to define the goal and develop the comprehensive program and objective. We need to estimate the selection parameters and economic weights. choose the genetic improvement system and genotypes to produce, because we have to know that all this scheme of Harris and Gary is within the production system. They say here, a production system environment, and the genetic resources, animal genetic resources existing around the production system. So need to design the evaluation system, develop selection criteria, como I already say, designing crossing strategies and information to include, define a system for disseminating genetic improvement, perform economic analysis, and re-examine the scheme. All this will help us to continue and to organize a very comprehensive genetic improvement program with all the factors taken into account to make it sustainable. If we don't make it in that way, it is very likely that will not be sustainable. If we can lose, for example, to include some health traits in the program, and it will take us to some diseases in animals, weak animals along the time. So I only will put some emphasis on the goal definition and the selection objective to structure the holistic improvement program. This is part that we will take surely after the definition, after following before diagram I already say, following the steps. I'm pretty sure we will be getting a selection index with all the important traits in there. So the goal definition is crucial to think about and to have very clear what we want from the animals. The profitability of an animal production depends on more than one trait and may be related. And we need to take into account everything genetically related in the animal, in the herd. And what characteristics are economically important to improve. So all these reflections will take us to the definition of a goal. And a goal could be defined in several terms. For example, we can think about net income, net economic income, or profitability per sheep per year, profitability per sheep per productive life, per hectare, per ton of dry matter intake, per farm, or maybe others according to local conditions. So this is highly important to know what we want, because if we don't have a very clear goal, it's very likely that we will not be with the right genetic improvement program. And about the selection objective, the selection objective will include a list of compulsory economic important traits that should be included in the genetic improvement program. And it means all these sort of traits, I already say, productive, reproductive, efficiency, functional traits. But also, we need to consider herd and administrative information to help us to support the structure or a very good comprehensive genetic improvement program, very holistic and modern. And this, for example, if we want to produce meat sheep production, what we will be looking for is to have the best animal to produce meat. So the genetic constitution of the best animal to achieve the goal, that will be the most important point. So that part is very, very, very important. And if we want to structurate a genetic, if we want to structurate an animal with the best genetic constitution, for meat production, so we need to think about traits like winning weight, litter size, carcass yield, mature weight, longevity, fertility. Doesn't mean that these are the traits, because the traits is not defining just because I like them. We need to define them according with economic weights, with all the conditions around the production system. So to start ending this talk, I just put together the production system integrated with all the factors around, plus the definition of the goal, plus selection objectives, and economic weights. And this will take us, as I say, very likely to a selection index. So everything here, all this information, all the traits, all the economic weights, is a process. And we need to develop our own model. And at the end of the day, we want the best animal to achieve our goal. And always keep in mind evaluation of the program. So this is, as I say, this is a process that we need to keep always in mind. Bien. So just to finish these end messages, I would like to tell you that when we are thinking about smart agriculture and livestock production, of course, always farmers want to maximize profit. Farmers want to maximize profit using scarce resources. We now need to think about the efficiency of the use of resources as water, fertilizer, consultancy, because everything means money for the people, and many poor people, many people in some areas don't have enough money to invest in the animals. They want money for their family, for their kids, for the family, for brothers, fathers, and they are not thinking to put the money in the animals. So animal resistant, genetically, naturally resistant disease, parasites will help us to keep good production system, protein production. If we include in all these animals a very comprehensive, holistic genetic improvement program, we are sure we can keep the sustain a production system for forever. So implementing the holistic genetic improvement program or utilizing new technologies also, farmers can gain a better understanding of their animals, also crops, in a micro scale. This enables them to conserve resources and minimize their impact on the environment. So this is very important to think about. In the end messages, you can read them from here. And the first one is the genetic resources have a crucial role in the fight against climate change and in promoting sustainability in agriculture and ecosystem management. Conservation and responsible use of genetic diversity are essential to address challenges in food production and maintaining healthy current and future ecosystems. Native and purely breds are fundamental in the sustainability of basic animal production systems for the production of meat, milk, fiber, eggs, and other primary and secondary products for current and future human well-being. We must always, this is very important, always be open, keep open mind to the use of other sciences and emerging technologies, for example, in cybernetic, ADN technology, and mathematical technologies. As you notice, I didn't mention here very much about ADN. Actually, only I am saying that we need to take into account the technologies, the market assistant markers, genetic markers are very important, and we can put together all this kind of technology with classical genetics, with quantitative genetics, molecular genetics, and mathematical technologies. Advancing put together, it's not an easy task, but it is of course possible, and join and improve the accuracy of selection of animals, being Creole or any kind of animals. And I'm sure in that way we will keep a very sustainable production system to improve the nutrition of the people around the world. Well, I finished my talk with this. Thank you very much. I appreciate your time. Thank you.
The genetic resources of animal production in order to improve the food yield, and especially for proposing the the health of human being and as well as the food production. And definitely those two are one of the most important thing for supporting SDGs goal. Okay, if there
Very
are
good.
questions from, so we are going to open this section for questions and answers. So from the audience, are there any questions? No questions? In Indonesia, di bahasa Indonesia pun boleh. No? No questions? From Pak Aris?
Thank you, moderator. My question is addressed to Dr. Jose. You hear my?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you. First of all, I would say to thank for your presentation today, and I think it is a good or a new information for us because the development of animal is, I think, is very important today because more than 3 billion of people now is still need good protein, I think. So the one of the source of the protein is came from the animal, especially maybe from also from the cattle. So what your opinion, Dr. Jose? If we want to develop the cattle, especially in maybe in the country region, because you know that most of the breeds in the country, I mean in the tropical country, I think it's a small breed. I think most of the breed is small in size of the birds. If we compare to the European breed, so how or what your opinion if you want to develop the good breed with the based on the local breed like that? Okay, thank you very much.
You can answer directly, Professor.
Okay. Thank you very much. Thank you for your question. It's very interesting, and I want to be honest in my point of view, because many things, including my country, Mexico, it's been a trend to bring animals from outside, to bring big animals, to bring animals that are not suitable for all the ecological production, ecological areas, and we bring them because they are cheap, or maybe because they sell them cheap, and they bring animals, or somebody is making sometimes business, and they bring us animals that are not adapted to our places. And I think the local breeds, Creole breeds, native breeds, are fundamental, are important to take into account, to know what are they offering to us, and we think about to conserve the animals. I will think that we cannot be closed. As I say, we need to be open mind for everything. But that means that we have to put import animals if we don't know exactly what our native or Creole animals are offering us. So what I always suggest is to know what are the quality, what are the productivity, what are the traits that our local breeds, local genotypes are offering us before we take action against them also. I will say, in my point of view, I never take actions against that sort of animals, but sometimes farmers like to take animals that they like, only because they like, and it is quite dangerous. So I think that it is possible to develop a local breed with your local animals, put it together, work them, know what are they, and put them in a selection program, in a breeding program. I also mentioned that I am not saying to work just selection. Could be crossbreeding, and selection. The point is to have the best genetic structure in an animal that will help us to achieve the goal. In achieving a goal, for me, it is very likely, very possible to get it from local breeds. But we cannot be close to European breeds or other breeds from other countries. It's okay because they give us also some things, but we cannot forget our animals, and I think we should work with them. Thank you. I don't know if I answered your question.
But okay, I'm worried about the breed because maybe if the farmer just crossing and we can lose our breed. I think that that's important for, how to protect our local breed.
Yeah.
Thank-
Yeah, you're right. You're right. It's the same in Mexico. Happens something like that. They cross and cross because they don't have enough information about that. We need to take information to them. We need to help them to understand the importance of the local breeds, local genotypes.
Thank you. Are there any questions?
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you for the opportunity. So I'm Devi from UMM. I would like to ask Mr. Budi about the potency and category of biofuel. As we know, commonly the crude palm oil waste is mostly in Sumatra, but in Java. So what type of forestry tree that would be have great potency in, especially in East Java maybe? Because as we know, last night the Panderman mountain has had burned, something like that. So maybe would you like to tell us about the great potency in East Java? Thank you.
Thank you, Bu Devi. This very interesting question related to the potential of forestry in especially in East Java. But actually, if we know about the oil palm, this experience in, I think the species developed in the out of Java because the environment factor and also the area is very broad. So in Java, because the limiting areas, we can develop promising species for biofuel because Nyamplung or Filipino and also Malapari also already developed it in Java actually. And natural forest for both species also in Java. For example, kalau Inofilum and Pungaminya pinata, Malapari, we can find the natural distribution in East Java in the area of Alas Purwo National Park. It is the one of the natural distribution of nyamplung and malpari in Java. Although we can also find both species in Banten, in what do you say, Ujung Kulon National Park. Eh, so if we want to develop this species, actually it is very promising because in 2009 to 2010, ASDM, Ministry of ASDM, have program to develop desa mandiri energy, based on calophyllum inophyllum. And one of the biodiesel industry also established in Banyuwangi, in East Java. So, but unfortunately, the project only 1 year. So many problems because at that time the farmers is not familiar with the machine, how to process the biodiesel, and the budget only cover 2 years. So 5 biodiesel industry based on calophyllum inophyllum, yeah, we can say not success yet. And that time in 2009 to 2010, ASDM also developed the biodiesel industry based on calophyllum inophyllum in 5 locations. First in Banyuwangi, the second one in Purworejo, Central Java, and also Kebumen, and the fourth industry in Ujung Kulon, and the last one in South Sumatra. But I think at that time the technology to process biodiesel is not what do you say? It's not proven. So I think at that time we need research to proven the technology of biodiesel process. Also, the feedstock. Feedstock is not enough when we also only based on the natural and plantation forest at the time. So when we get information about this intensive silviculture for calophyllum and pongamia, now from 2000 and 2023, we will develop the plantation in industrial scale with 3 companies. And buyer also off-taker from Japan also already signed with our college, our what do you say? It's not my company actually. I just advisor for this company. Our partner in Central Kalimantan, because also calculated about the feasibility to develop the biodiesel based on forestry species. It is viable. So because we have to establish the plantation, so our program is established 2,000 hectares per year. This is based on the requirement from Japan company. They want to supply, demand from the company at least 2,000, 200 tons biodiesel per year. And when we convert to the plantation, we need about 2,000 hectares per year for 1 unit industry for biodiesel production. And when we convert to bioafter production, the capacity at least about half of the biodiesel, because the process is different. We need process for biodiesel production by esterification and transesterification. But for biofuel, bioafter or sustainability aviation fuel, we have to process by hydrogenase. Thank you.
Short question. Okay, I have each one question for Pak Budi and for Prof. Jose. For Pak Budi, do you have any a brief strategy for Indonesia? So maybe you can describe us how much target, how many percent for Indonesia can use biofuel from a forest product, maybe. And that's my short question, Pak Budi. And for Prof. Jose, I have a question. I'm from agribusiness, so I have to know about the adoption from farmers in Mexico. As you know that farmers in Indonesia are mostly small farmers. So when you present about maximizing profit on your presentation, can you tell us about how big of the farm so can reach maximize profit in implementing your animal breeding result? Thank you. Is it clear, my question, Prof. Jose? Yeah, so it should be how big of the farm in Mexico? Maybe is it very different with in Indonesia? Thank you.
Thank you. Bu Rahayu, thank you for the question. Yeah, actually, until now, the government has not yet set the target for biofuel from forest trees. Actually, our government until now developed oil palm to supply biofuel production for domestic demand. But actually, in the next future, we have also have potential for export, because in the last time we really exported of biofuel, not biofuel, export fossil fuel at the time. But start from 2004, 2004, we Indonesian to be the net oil importer. So that's why we have to find the alternative species to develop this our opportunities to export biofuel to abroad. Because as you know that the oil palm now many issues attack the oil palm production, such as issue of environment, issue of food, and also for health. So that's why we have to get new alternative species, not only for domestic supply, but also for abroad. Because until now, many countries also request to collaboration with us to develop non-edible oil. So until now, and the government not yet, set the target. But from the planning in RPJMN, will be planned to develop non-oil palm biofuel from 2024 to 2030. So before the policy launching in Indonesia, we already researched 15 years ago, starting from 15 years ago. That's why we need research sometimes more than 30 years, because oil palm also more than 40 years to find the efficient process for biofuel. So we also need research, intensive research for biofuel, especially for non-edible oil. Thank you, Pak Burayu.
Prof. Jose?
Yes, thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you. Well, I think it's a very interesting question about the size and the application of a genetic improvement program in around the world, particularly in Mexico or in Indonesia or in any other country. The hair size in Mexico is different scale, different size. We have small holders from 10 to 100 animals, and biggest herds, of course. Always is easier to apply a genetic improvement program in a big big size herd because economic aspects are more important. And sometimes management practices are much modern and improved, and they use technology. For small holders, is more difficult. It's hard for them because they have another priorities. But in the as long as we keep in touch with this kind of people, and we take technology to them, they will be hearing us about the importance of use technology. It's not easy, and I can tell you that I have been in touch with very small farmers, very small producers, and it's difficult. Even sometimes they don't want to hear us. But we need to be persistent, to take information to them and to explain them what is the importance of what we need to do if they really want to improve the income and they want to improve the protein production from the animals. So I found difficult, and I have been working for quite long time with indigenous people in highlands and also in dry areas, and this is very hard. I will tell you that it's not an easy task, and that makes us more interested also to try to take the information and work with them to improve things. So only working with them, being with them, can we take little advantage. Maybe from 10, maybe from 20 small producers, maybe 1 or 2 will hear us, and we can start working with them. And work with one will be good because after that, and others can join us to start taking technology, using it before. So I can tell you that it's hard. It's not easy, but we need to try anyway. The other thing is not to do nothing, and that will not be helpful for the country. I don't know if I answered the question, or if you want to expand something.
It's enough from Professor Rahayu. Okay, we have one last question from Zoom, Pak Anang. Okay, please.
Baik, Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My read question in chat. Congratulations and success to the organizer of the 4th EconBid 2023. On the topics in Prof. Budi presentation explained the use of ex-mining land for plants as an energy source. My research with PT Semen Indonesia in Tuban factory through the ex-mining reclamation program show good result for horticultural crop. My question for Prof. Budi, to what extent are the regulation that require mine manager to utilize ex-mining land for profitable crop? The second, maybe Prof. Budi view, to what extent is the commitment of the mining land manager to rehabilitate it until it's profitable? The next question for Prof. Jose. Prof. Jose, your presentation conveys 6 urgent issues to attend. according to Prof. Yose, of the 9 issue, which is the most critical country in the tropical region and especially Indonesia must immediately address, may be different with subtropical region. Thank you.
May I?
Okay, thank you, Pak Anang. Your question about the potential of crop in ex-mining land, but actually, our research in the ex-mining land is not yet progress, because we start the research in ex-mining land just 2-3 years ago. And actually, for biofuel production, the crop potential in the ex-mining land is Pongamia than Calophyllum, Inophyllum, because as you know that Pongamia also leguminosae, and they can also nitrogen fixation on the air, and I think it's more adaptable in the dry land compared with Calophyllum, and other species, because in dry land we need species tolerant in the very extremely critical land, and I think leguminosae species is very potential for develop in the ex-mining land. But Calophyllum or Nyamplung, it is tolerant in the wetland and much better than Pongamia. It is, I think, the advantage of both species. Calophyllum potential to develop in the wetland, but the Pongamia in extremely dry land. This is in the information about the adaptability of both species for biofuel to develop in ex-mining land. But for other species, maybe Pak Anang will develop for biomass, yeah. Maybe
Yeah.
in dry land, do you know Lyricidae? Yeah? Lyricidae,
Yes.
also Acacia auriculariformis is potential for dry land and ex-mining land. And other species such as Kaliandra, maybe you know, Kaliandra is
Yeah.
better in the highland and much rainfall, or the annual rainfall up to 2,000 millimeter per year. That's the species potential from forestries. Enough, Anang?
Yeah, enough, Prof. Thank
Yeah.
you, Prof.
We already try Calophyllum, Inophyllum in the mining land in Bangka Belitung, ya. Yeah, maybe you know tin, yeah, in Bangka and Thailand, and Bangka and Belitung. We already tried Calophyllum in the ex-mining land of tin, and the response is very, very good. But in the coal mining land, ex-coal mining land, the Calophyllum cruise is not so well. So we can compare on the different ex-mining land in Indonesia. Thank you, Pak Anand.
Thank you, Prof.
Well, may I? Thank you. Well, I think I present 6 urgent issues to attend. I think it's very hard to say this is more important than other. I can take, for example, if I read the 6 points, maybe I will choose one, but it's hard to think about leaving out something that is affecting the world, the planet. So I will think that maybe because this is some points to think about, but also we can take different points from each of them and put together in an issue only where we have to think about soil, about water, about air. We cannot live without air. We cannot live without water. We cannot live a long time without a healthy soil, and we need everything together. We need to work with them, and because also thinking as a human beings. But if we want protein production, if we want healthy animals, we need the same, and we cannot have healthy animals if we don't keep a healthy and a pure air, pure water. So it's a very nice question. I appreciate that because made me think about that, of course, and that's one of the main points in this, to think about this, and I think every country has its particular conditions. Unfortunately, I haven't been in Indonesia. I don't know all the particular conditions in Indonesia. I know the location. I know the islands around the sea, etc. But particular conditions are quite important. I used to think that when you want something very objective, with a lot of objectivity for a country, for a region, you need to have the full study in what are the particular conditions of each ecosystem, and then think about a project, think about a plan to put in a point to develop for a country. And I think
Yes.
Indonesia has a beautiful conditions for many things, but I also think that must be because of the comments before. I think it's still lots of things to overtake, to work, and to plan, to think about what we have to do in particular to keep our soils, water, resources, to use properly the native animals, to use properly our nature, because Indonesia is a mega diverse country. So this is amazing, the amount of opportunities to develop agriculture and animal production, but we need to think about all these parts of the ecosystem, all this part of the production system. I'm sorry if I am not going straight to the point to give you a very good point about the situation around Indonesia, but I am sure that thinking about that, thinking about the conditions, thinking about the problems, thinking about what we need to produce, how we want to produce, and what are the actors in this production system, we can get it. I think it's not easy and it's very difficult, but a good team. I'm sure they exist. There's very good team in Mahatma University, and in the Faculty of Agriculture and Animal Science can make a very good team to put the minds together and to work in that way to propose a very good development system to get the best production, the best profit for people, but also the best conditions for the nature also. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Prof.
It's enough, ya, Pak Anang. Thank you very
Enough.
much.
Thank you, moderator.
Thank you very much also for the audience, and for the highlights is phenotype is equals to genotype and environment. So if we want to improve the phenotype, we need to improve the genetic and as well as environmental manipulation. So with both, we can definitely improve the yield production for both animal and forestry. I think that's the summary for today. Thank you very much. Bu Festi.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Professor.
Dear ladies and gentlemen, the first plenary session is finished. This is time for exchanging token between UMM and BRIAN. For Professor Dr. Aris Winaya and Professor Dr. Budi Laksono, please come to the stage. We also present online certificates for our presenter this morning, for Dr. Jose Solis Ramirez from Mexico.
Thank
Please
you.
kindly give applause to our distinguished guests and speakers for the first plenary session.
Thank you very much.
Next, we're going to break session for around 45 minutes. And please, both online and on-site participant, back to this conference at 1 p.m. Thank you. Distinguished participant, welcome back to our session of fourth icon bed. Let's continue the second plenary session that will be moderated by Ms. Rista Anggriani, Master of Science. For Ms. Rista, time is yours.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Festi, for the opportunity. Well, good afternoon, and we have two speakers for the plenary session, and I will be the moderator for this plenary session of fourth ICANPID 2023. Before we hear the presentation of the speaker, let me say hello, Professor Maximo. Professor Maximo.
Hi, hello.
Hi, how are you?
Good. Thank you.
Okay,
Thank you
nice
very
to
much.
meet you. Okay, and the second one is Professor Francisco. Are you joining us? Okay, actually, we apologize for inconvenience because Professor Francisco could not be present in our meeting due to the technical problem. But
All right.
Yep, Professor Maximo, let me info about the rule how the presentation will be going on. Firstly,
Okay.
I'd like to give you time around 30 minutes, and
All
after
right.
your presentation finish, we will open discussion about 30 minutes. Clear enough about the rule, Professor
Okay.
Maximo? Okay. Well, ladies and gentlemen, let me introduce the third speaker. He is Professor Maximo from Yamagata University, Japan, and he earned the glance of the curriculum vitae. He graduated with the degree of Bachelor in Meteorology from Universidad Nacional Agraria La Molina, Lima, Peru. And in 1995, he was granted the Max Scholarship to enroll in the Master and PhD program in Hokkaido University in Japan until March 2002. From 2003 to 2007, he worked as a researcher for a Japanese Russian project on greenhouse gases evaluation in Eastern Siberia. This was followed by a project on the impact of forest fires on boreal forests in northern Mongolia. And from April 2011, he moved to the Faculty of Agriculture in Yamagata University, where he started working in nutrient balance of several tea species using stable isotopes and remote sensing called unmanned aerial vehicle. Okay, did all participants of this conference now allow me to invite the speaker from Prof. Maximo to deliver his presentation about unmanned aerial vehicle and artificial intelligence forest monitor anthropogenic effect. So Professor Maximo, the time is yours.
Okay, please let me know if you can see the presentation in presentation mode or it's just in normal mode.
Yeah, your presentation is clear enough.
Okay, is it in presentation mode?
Pardon?
It should be
Can you
now.
repeat?
Okay,
Okay.
now it's okay, right?
Yep, here you are.
Okay, thank you very much. Well, I want to start the presentation by thanking Citra for the invitation and also, of course, to the university for this wonderful opportunity to present in this conference. As you mentioned, I am presenting from Japan, but I am originally from Peru. And I have been working for many years in forestry. Unfortunately, it's not agriculture. I did my PhD on agriculture, but it's my main line of work at the moment is forestry. But the technology that we are using now, which is drones or UAVs and artificial intelligence, can also be applied to agriculture, of course. All the technology that I will present today can be applied also for agriculture. One second. So why do we use unmanned aerial vehicles, especially for people who work in forestry? These are there are two main scales of work. One is the ground surveys, the one that we do when we go to the forest and examine the trees one by one. But in these types of research, we usually find ourselves looking at the tree, but get lost in the forest. So we can see the tree, but not the forest. If we want to see the forest, we use satellite images. But in that case, we can see the forest, but we cannot see the tree. So with this new technology, which is the unmanned aerial vehicles, we can join these two scales together. So we can finally see the tree and we can see the forest at once. So we can do this because of the high spatial resolution that the drone cameras provide to us. So we can see one single tree in a very large area. Here you can see an example of what I am mentioning now. It's the forest and the tree. So we can see both at the same time, and this is the main advantages. So there has been, of course, historical evolution of satellite imaging, of remote sensing, starting from MODIS, followed by Landsat, and several other satellite, and finally the drone or UAVs have been used very recently, at least for forestry. Maybe for military purposes were used before, but for forestry is really new. And for agriculture, it has been in the field already for much longer time, but not more than a decade. So it's really new. Image resolution is, of course, very important because the more pixels we have in an image, the clearer is the image that we want to see. This is a very nice example that I take from Wikipedia of representing of how many pixels you have in a determined area. Will provide you with a better and much clearer image of what you want to see. So the same is provided depending on the drone that you are using, and also, of course, depending on the height that you fly the drone. So we use different drones. We prefer the small ones because for the big ones you need much more logistics, and especially since we do our work in forests, in mountains, it's not always very easy to carry these big drones in these areas. So in my laboratory in particular, we use these 5 drones. There are different sizes. All of them are made by the Chinese company DJI. And this one is our recent acquisition, which is the multispectral drone. So it allows us to take images in different wavebands and calculate very important vegetation indexes such as the NDVI, NDRE, LCI, all these indexes that are very important to evaluate tree health. So we use different flight plans. There are different softwares that provide with you can use to fly your drone as you find fit. This is what we can find with one single image. The trees are not in a vertical position, but using another software that is called Metashape, we can get all the trees ortho-corrected and all of them are in a vertical position. So we can use drones, and I will mention this very briefly, because of two techniques that were improved. One is a multi-view stereo, which provides 3D images from 3D structures from images taken from different angles. And the second one, and most important, is a structure from motion. So you build a 3D image, and in this case, topography, based on consecutive images that you can take, in this case, especially with a drone. And this is, the more you overlap one image with the other, the better the 3D structure that you can build. So in essence, what I want to mention here is that images from drones, since they have a very few centimeters of resolution, allows us to identify three characteristics such as leaf shape, size, and color that could not be perceived before. And also, unlike satellite images, we can reconstruct 3D objects from these images. With this level of precision, tree species, composition, forest health, growth, and temporal changes can be observed with relative ease. So what we do is usually this: we go to the field, we fly our drone, we collect images in a forest, we take 400, 500, 800, 1,000 pictures, depending on the area that we are surveying. We use 85% overlapping and fly at about 90 meters above the ground. And this allows us to build one orthomosaic. So it's like a collage of all these images, to build only one single image that we can analyze in ArcGIS or QGIS or any other software that can deal with this kind of data. This is done by the software, the Metashape. But the next step, the one where we need to analyze, requires expert annotation. So because there is where we have to annotate or label the data that we want to, that is important for us. So in this case, for us is health of trees. So we want to know how much pests are affecting trees in a spatial and temporal scale. And for that, we also use deep learning. So we don't trust 100% on the expert annotation, but we want this to become automatic evaluation systems that can be done by anyone who has this software in any forest in Japan and in the world, of course. So we do this, we take images, we label the different kinds of vegetation that are there. In this case, it's not trees, but it's shrubs. This is just an example. We validate, we print the posters that we do with this Metashape software, and we go to the field to verify that what we see in the image is exactly what we are seeing in the field. So we validate this data in the field. So we make these posters, as you see here. We surface the forest. We mark in these papers the same that we are seeing in the images, and those that we cannot reach by ourselves, we use a smaller drone that can take pictures much closer to the forest, to the tree, and this allows us to survey, let's say, digitally the forest, even in places where we cannot access very easily. So this is another way of using drones, but in the end, all this data is put together. So we, from this, once we verify that that's data that we really want, we extract this data from the orthomosaics. It depends on the size of the vegetation, but we can extract images of trees from different sizes. So what we do is we create folders with different kinds of vegetation. This is more already entering in the deep learning, in the artificial intelligence world. So we are not in the forest anymore. Everything that we are doing is now in computers, which facilitates the work a lot and makes the understanding of the forest much easier. So we create all these folders with all this vegetation, and we use all this data to feed a deep learning model. So this deep learning model help us understand what is the vegetation that we are observing. For example, if you have this image, but we don't know what it is, what we do is we give it to the deep learning model that we have trained before, and the model will tell us what is this vegetation, what this vegetation is. So this makes the study of forest much more efficient and reduces time, reduces money, of course, the cost, and reduces also the number of people that you need to evaluate all these forests. Because unlike agricultural fields, especially in Japan, forests are in many places very difficult to access, demands lots of work, lots of time, as I mentioned before. And with this technique, we can save money, we can save work, we can save time, and we can make the work much more safe for people who don't need to go to these forests. So all this is becoming very common, at least for us. Not all laboratories are using this technology, but I think it's just a matter of time. So we use 80% of the data, in this case, for this study in particular. So as you can see here, there are thousands of images. And this is a very small example. There are studies that we are using where we have tens of thousands of images for each particular vegetation that we want to train. So all this is becoming quite popular in forestry, but there is still a lot of studies to do. And we are working on temperate forests. It would be very interesting to work in forests such as those in Indonesia, because they are much more complex than the forests that we have here in Japan. So the results of the deep learning model are expressed in this confusion matrix that I will not spend so much time to discuss, but I just want you to pay attention to this line. This line represents the times that the model actually was correct identifying the vegetation that we wanted. So for example, in this case, Buna, which is beach in Japanese, we have 162 trees. And of those 162 trees, the model successfully identified 160. And of this Matsu, which is pine, of the 15 trees, 13 of them were correctly identified. So we are getting very high accuracy levels. This is really remarkable. We are, of course, not working only with scientists from the Faculty of Agriculture of Yamagata University, but also with the Faculty of Science of our university and with a university in Italy, which is also very interested in this technology. And they are mathematicians or have been working on computer science all their lives. So we are putting all this group together, and this is helping us to achieve this level of accuracy, which is very high, very high. So, and we are aiming for even higher levels. So this is what we are doing with the deep learning model. Now I will give you an example of a more concrete example of what we are doing in Japan. As you know, we are in Yamagata Prefecture, which is in Tohoku region in Japan. This is the northeastern area, and we are exactly here. Well, I mean, I am here at the moment. but the central part of our university is here in Yamagata City. In Tohoku, which is northeastern Japan, we have different sites where we are doing research at the moment. All of them have different characteristics. This is a coastal forest in Shonai, very close to us. It's a normal, typical forest made of black pine. We have a mountainous forest, which is monoculture, cedar. This is a typical mixed forest in southern Yamagata. We have a very beautiful plantation in Iwate, and this is a forest, coastal forest that has been affected by the tsunami of 2011. And we also and mainly are studying insect damage in forests in the subalpine region of Japan. Because Japan, even though it's not a very big country, but it has lots of different types of environment because it's a long country going from subtropical to subboreal forest ecosystems, and also goes from the sea level to 3,000 meters above sea level. So you have a diversity of forests, of vegetation that is very interesting for us because we can use this technology to analyze different types of forest. So here in this particular forest, which is in Zhao Mountains, we have a very serious problem of forest decline because of an insect called bark beetle. So this forest disappeared very quickly in from 2012 to 2016, which is very fast. And one of the questions that we have is why this decline was so quickly. We want to know also if this this bark beetle infestation has stopped or is still going on, and what will happen with the forest that has been destroyed. And of course, what everybody asks us all the time, is there anything that we can do about it? So all these questions are questions that I get from the people that I always see in this forest. So we as scientists, we are trying to answer all these questions. So the bark beetle is very typical of this region of Asia, is Polygraphus proximus, which is different to the bark beetle in Europe. And this has devastated forests not only in Japan, of course, but also in Siberia, in China, and in Korea. So here there are pictures that we have taken this year in spring, and you can see here there are bark beetles walking on the trees and the holes that they leave and how they destroy the trees. So they attack a tree which is very widespread in Japan. It's called Mariesi fir, and it expands from Nagano in the south to Aomori in the north, covering around 700 kilometers length. With the pictures, we can easily identify trees that are dead, trees that are infested, trees that are healthy, and even other vegetation. So this is how we see the trees from the drone, and this is how we see the trees on the ground. So now we are not looking at trees like this anymore. We are only looking at the trees based on the drone images because we can cover a much larger area. And of course, areas that we cannot access walking. We are going a bit farther, and we don't want to only categorize them in 3 categories, healthy, infested, and dead, but we want to see the evolution of the infestation. So we have trees with different levels of infestation, and sometimes, of course, the same tree that has evolved in several years, because we are collecting images from 2019. So here's, for example, one of these examples that I was mentioning, that we have these 3 trees that we are using as an example of thousands of trees that we have. And you can see the evolution of this tree in these last 3 years. We need to add one more year. So you see in 2019, we could still see these trees. We could still see them with leaves, but in 2020, the foliage coverage has decreased, and in 2021, this tree is dead. This one was really surprising because the next year, the tree was completely without leaves. And also the number of branches starts decreasing because there's no function of these trees. So the trees get weak in general. And all these plants also, you can see here the evolution of decline. So what we are doing with this technology is using the pixels that each canopy has. So this is a description, more or less, to make it easier to understand. We work with the white pixels that represent the defoliated area, and the green pixels is where leaves still exist. So based on these calculations, we have surveyed these 70 hectares in this forest, and we have determined the number of trees that are healthy, damaged, and dead. And based on this information, we can say for sure that at the bottom of this mountain, most of the trees are, at least most of them are healthy. They're not dead, but little by little, the damage increases as we go up. And at the top, near the tree line, most of the trees are already dead, at least in the west side. On the east side, we still have a good number of trees that are healthy. So this is the evolution that we can see during the years. As you can see here, there are 435 healthy trees in this plot, but little by little, 4 years later, we have 295. So almost 40 trees are not healthy anymore. But the number of, more than 140 trees have increased in the number of damaged and number of dead trees. So this evaluation is possible because of this technology. So what will happen with this forest that has declined or deteriorated is a mystery for us at the moment. But this forest disappeared in 2016. And now, 7 years later, we still don't see any forest regeneration. What we see is a dominance of subalpine vegetation, as the one you can see here. The white spots that you see are the dead trees. So we cannot see any regeneration at the moment, but sometimes forests take longer to regenerate, and it might be that at some point we can see some forest, but that does not seem to be the case. So we have also another very interesting phenomena here, and is that in the winter of 21 and 22, very strong winds and very heavy snow caused very widespread breaking of trees. So many of the trees, I wouldn't say they fall down, but they broke at 2 meters, 3 meters from the ground. And we can see that because we have the images of this forest in 2001, and the trees were still alive, as you can see here. But in the image of 2022, these same trees are dead, are fallen down. And these were healthy trees. So this was quite surprising. And this is one of the reasons why the bark beetle population increased suddenly. So the fact that the weather caused this widespread falling of trees is related to the widespread increase of bark beetle population that will damage the forest even further. So what can we do to decrease the effect of this infestation? This is a picture I took in Italy. They identified where the bark beetles are. As you can see here, this is how the bark beetle completely destroys the communication systems in the forest. And I don't know what this is. Okay. And what they do is they remove all the bark from the trees. So they cut the tree, remove all the bark, and that makes that does not allow the bark beetle population to increase. So this is one interesting approach, but I will not recommend it in Japan because it costs quite a lot. It takes a lot of effort, and I don't think it will stop the bark beetle spread. Maybe in some areas that we want to preserve some trees might be helpful, but not for the whole forest. It's impossible. So the preliminary results that we have for this particular forest is that the weakening of this forest could have been initiated by heavy snow and strong winds that caused the initial damage of the forest, but also caused a very sudden increase in bark beetle population that caused a very severe damage in the forest, especially in the tree line, which by itself is a very weak, more sensitive forest than forest in lower grounds. So we have also, we have definitely proof that the bark beetle infestation has continued during these years. And we can prove that because with the data that we have obtained by the UAVs, we can see that every year we have more damaged trees and more dead trees that are found in this area. So there are no signs of forest regeneration, but instead a dominance of subalpine vegetation. So we don't see any pattern, as I mentioned before, but of course we need to look also for other areas in the same mountain, because sometimes the trees that are regenerated are too small to see with the drone. And one measure that as I mentioned before, could be to stop these bark beetles is to cut the infested trees and remove the bark, so the bark beetle population could not increase. These are some of the results that we have found until now. We continue this research, we continue improving our deep learning models, and the results that we are getting are really good. The group that we are working with is one of the very few groups that is covering such large areas with drones, but we also take a good care of verifying all this data that we don't take for granted from the drone. So we go and try to validate all the data to confirm that what we see is really what it is in the field. And this is one of the most important factors for obtaining good results with the deep learning models. Okay, and I leave you with this picture with some of my students.
Oh,
Thank you
okay,
very
done.
much.
Okay, luckily. Okay, thank you so much, Professor Maximo. And
Hi.
fortunately, Professor Franz is joining us. Professor Franz, hello. Professor Franz.
I think your mic is off.
I don't think so.
No, the mic of Professor
Okay,
Franz.
Professor Franz, could you hear my voice?
The mic.
Yes, right now.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you so
Hello.
much.
Hello.
Okay, well, Ladies and gentlemen, we are going to the fourth speaker. Welcome to Professor Francisco, Doctor of Veterinary Medicine Professor at University of Murcia, Spanyol, Europe.
Yes.
Nice to meet you, Professor.
Hello, everybody.
Well, Professor Franz will explain about the research in biotechnology of reproduction. Is it correct?
It's correct. Perfect.
Okay. Well, Professor Franz, you have, 20 minutes, just 20 minutes.
Okay.
Okay.
I'm gonna try to be
Okay.
fast.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Are you ready for your presentation?
I'm gonna share the presentation.
Okay, but perhaps the. Oh, okay. Well.
It's okay.
Yep, it's processing to sharing.
Yeah. Okay, right?
Okay, the time is yours, Professor Franz.
Okay, thank you so much for the presentation. Thank you so much for the invitation for this conference. So I'm gonna try to explain briefly in 20 minutes, if possible, the research that we are developing here in Murcia, that is the region where I'm living in the southeast of Spain. And it's about my research lines in biotechnology of reproduction, and also related with the sustainability, that is the main goal of this conference. So right now I have a total of 6 PhD students, and my research lines are divided like in 4 main lines. That is the artificial insemination and the uterus environment for sperm selection in porcine species. And the other line is nanobiotechnology, working also in porcine, but also in rabbits. And the last one, that is the most exciting, probably line, is the working with aquatic animals in sharks and dolphins. So I'm gonna try to explain them in the next slides. So first, about the porcine. Porcine is so important here in our country because we are the third pork producer in the world. The first one is United States, and the second one is China, and the third one is Spain. So here is a very important sector. So we can say that the pork production, we can divide. Well, the reproduction area is the most important area, or one of the most important area in the pig production, and it can be divided in several sections. Like the first one is the health of the boars, where we obtain the ejaculated, and the ejaculated are obtaining and they are preparing where they are diluted and prepared in seminal doses. So we can use one male, and with that male we can inseminate almost 30 females. So this is also a very efficiency sector. And those seminal doses that are prepared have to be kept in refrigeration for several days, so keeping a very good quality. Here in the image we can see a short video about how the porcine sperm are moving, so they are in high quality. So those seminal doses, after that, they have to be deposited in the porcine uterus. So the cells have to be prepared in a good oestrus stage, and after that we do the artificial insemination per se. That is the deposition, the technique to deposit the seminal doses inside of the uterus. Here we can see an endoscope video recording of when we perform the insemination. Here, this is like the catheter that we use to deposit inside of within the female genital tract. And so starting with the ejaculation of the boar, this is a peculiar ejaculation because the boar ejaculate is divided in different fractions. The first one is the pre-sperm fraction that is always discarded, it's not collected because it's dirty. The second one is the rich sperm fraction, that is the fraction that usually is the only fraction that is collected to prepare the seminal doses that I mentioned before, that is very rich in sperm and also have seminal plasma, that is the liquid that vehicle the sperm. Later we have the fraction, the intermediate fraction, that is with a low number of sperm than the previous one, but in a high volume. And the last one is also called the post-sperm fraction, that is low in sperm number but a very high volume of seminal plasma. Usually, as I said before, the only fraction that is collected during the process of the porcine ejaculate is the F1. I mean, is the rich fraction, because well, it's said that the F2 and F3, the intermediate fraction, the post-spermatic fraction, was the deleterious for the conservation of the sperm. So in that trial, we investigate what happened if we also collect the F2 and F3, I mean the last fraction of the ejaculation, and we put them into the seminal doses. So we prepare the 3 experimental groups, the F1, that is just seminal doses prepared with the rich fraction, the F2, that is the rich fraction plus the intermediate fraction, and the F3, that is the F2, I mean all the whole ejaculate of the person. So we prepare the seminal doses and we investigate what happened with the sperm quality, and we also do the artificial insemination and see what happened with the rates of fertility and farrowing, and also the health of the offspring. So first, we evaluate, after preparing seminal doses, we evaluate the sperm quality, and here we can see another video record of the sperm motion of the 3 different experimental groups, and we can see that they are moving pretty similar. The total motility and the progressive motility, that are 2 of the main parameters that we evaluate for sperm quality, and we see that all of them have the same quality. This is after 3 days of refrigeration. Okay. So what we do later, we use those seminal doses and we inseminate more than 150 females. And what happened? So the pregnancy rate was similar between the different experimental groups, and also the total piglets born per females. This is a mean, is around 20, that is a lot, but without any difference between them. So that means that the whole ejaculate, we can use the whole ejaculate to inseminate the females. Okay. So this is translate in safe mourning. This is translating sustainability of this production. Okay, so we do also a brief study of the seminal dose cost using F1, F2, or the whole ejaculate, that is the F3, and we save some euros using the F3. So this is it was published in a paper last year, and this is a demonstration of how we can do more efficiency for production in the reproduction sector. Also, the second line is we want also to know what happened inside of the when we deposit the sperm inside of within the female in the genital tract, and we study the interaction of the sperm with the reproductive fluids. that the main one are seminal plasma and also the uterine fluid. That is the first fluid that the sperm are gonna find after the deposition in the female genital tract, in the uterus. So in that case, what we use is to extract seminal plasma from the ejaculation of the boars, and also to extract uterine fluid from the uterus. Okay, so we collect the uterus from the slaughterhouse, and in vitro we collect the uterine fluid. And we prepared several experimental groups. That is the control group, that is just sperm without any reproductive fluid. The second group is the sperm plus the seminal plasma. The third group is sperm plus the uterine fluid. And the fourth one is the sperm with both of them. I mean the seminal plasma and uterine fluid. So here we have the first results that was published also a couple of years ago, or several years ago. And we can see here in the first graph, the total motility, how this motility significant decrease in the group of the uterine fluid without seminal plasma. That means that the sperm need the seminal plasma to be transported within the female genital tract, because we can see here in the graph, the group that also contain the uterine fluid but also contain the seminal plasma has the same efficiency that the sperm with only the seminal plasma. Okay, so the uterine fluid in some ways doing some deleterious effect on a sperm because the seminal plasma is not present. Also, we saw here in the last graph the acrosomal damage. The acrosome is one of the important part of the sperm that is used to penetrate the oocyte. Also, is the more damage is acrosome in the sperm that were incubated only with the uterine fluid. Also, what did later for these experiments? So we evaluate the efficiency of the in vitro fertilization. What we did is use those experimental groups that I mentioned before, and we use them in an in vitro fertilization evaluation. And see that the efficiency was very low in the group with some reproductive fluids, but this efficiency was increased after a sperm selection of these groups. This sperm selection was performed with a Perkov gradient. So gradient is it's a process that we need to centrifugate the sperm, and we select just a subpopulation of the sperm. And we use those subpopulation of sperm and did the in vitro fertilization, and we see here that those containing the uterine fluid reach the highest efficiency in comparison with the control and in comparison with only the group with the seminal plasma. Also, we evaluate the metabolism of those sperm and see that those with the uterine fluid has the highest oxygen consumption rate. That is one of the parameters that we evaluate the metabolism of the sperm. And right now we are developing some techniques, the omics, to see if we can find some biomarkers using the proteomic. I mean the study of the proteins of the sperm, the metabolism of the sperm, and also the lipids of the sperm. So we are finishing this research with a very nice results, but I didn't have time to present here. Sorry. Also, we are evaluating just very briefly the solution of reproductive tissues just inside of this uterus environment for sperm selection. What we are doing is to extract artificially all the cells from the uterus and the oviduct of the porcine female genital tract. And so here this is a process of desegregation After a couple of days, we see that here this is the white oviduct and white uterus. And see, this is white because we extract all the cell content of these tissues. And right now we are evaluating this, starting this project, we are evaluating histological analysis of those tissues, also the proteomics, and the transmission and scanning microscope. Here we have some of the first results. This is how the nucleus is decreasing after this process of the cellularization, but the extracellular matrix is maintaining, like the collagen, the elastic fibers, and the glycosaminoglycans. They are keeping after the cellularization, what is good because we have to maintain this extracellular matrix. Well, I'm gonna pass. Well, the third line, this is the nanobiotechnology. I'm a little bit fast because I think that we don't have enough time. This is nanobiotechnology. What we did here is we have developed it with patent a new process in which the nanoparticles are conjugated with a protein that is the oviductin. It's a oviductal protein, and this conjugation is able to be attached to the extracellular matrix, the outer part of the oocytes and embryos. So the characteristic of those nanoparticles are that they are ferric, they are magnetic. So here, this is an image. This is the oocyte, and previously incubated, you can see around the CP like dots, black dots around the CP. This is the nanoparticles attached to the oocyte. So if we put here a magneto close to this oocyte, you will see how it is moving. You see that? Without any contact, we are able to move this oocyte or these or embryos. Yeah, so this is a very excited project that we are developing. If you want more information, you can visit our website that is nanorep.tech. So, and well, I'm gonna. Okay, and the last line is related with the aquatic animals, sharks and dolphins. So first of all, probably you are asking, how can we get a sperm from those animals, right? Because we are getting those sperms. So I'm gonna show you a short, hopefully, short video that we.
The overall goal of this technique is to assess the cryopreserved dolphin sperm functionality by the heterologous in vitro fertilization using cryopreserved dolphin spermatozoa and zona intact bovine.
We did in the oceanographic, that is the largest aquarium here in Europe, it's in Valencia.
Evaluate and cryopreserve dolphin spermatozoa. Then we will assess sperm interaction and penetration of the zona pellucida, male prenuclear formation, and hybrid embryo cleavage.
One critical issue in the development of assisted reproductive technologies is the evaluation of sperm function, which is best indicated by its ability to fertilize. Homologous IVF techniques are commonly used for the evaluation of sperm function, but obtaining dolphin oocytes is very difficult.
The main advantage of heterologous in vitro fertilization is its simplicity. Bovine oocytes are readily obtainable and can be processed in vitro by well-tested protocols.
We will also demonstrate how to cryopreserve dolphin spermatozoa using liquid nitrogen vapors. Simple technique that does not require highly specialized freezing equipment.
For this procedure, the male dolphin should be previously trained for 6 months using positive reinforcement. Let the animal lie in dorsal recumbency near the edge of the pool. There, perform various tactile stimulations by gently pressing on the cranial area of the genital groove to elicit voluntary extrusion of the penis. After achieving a complete erection, direct the penis tip to a sterile container. Maintain the ejaculate at 37 degrees Celsius until the analysis. As needed, repeat the tactile stimulations for successive ejaculate collections using a new polypropylene glass each time. Immediately after the collection, evaluate the ejaculates, keeping them at 37 degrees Celsius throughout. Determine the volume, color, pH, and osmolarity of the ejaculates.
So this is the video. The dolphins have to be trained for a period of at least 6 months to get voluntarily later the semen samples. So we did a characterization of those samples through the morphometric traits, and also we identify the proteins inside of the sperm, and also the seminal plasma in this species, that is the bottlenose dolphin, as Lucius truncatus is the scientific name. And we compare the proteins of the sperm and the seminal plasma in dolphins. We compare with the human, the bull, and also the dog. And we saw that most of the proteins are common to those species, and most of them are common to human. It's one of the conclusion that we got from this research. Also, we collaborate in the first bottlenose dolphin, and the birth of the first bottlenose dolphin through artificial insemination here in Spain, and some years ago also in aquarium close to our region. Also, I'm finishing.
But say sorry, your time is up.
Okay. So
Okay. Well, for the next agenda, we have the open discussion. So let me invite back Professor Maximo. Okay. Well, we have 30 minutes. Anyone who have the question, please raise hand or put online or offline, and please mention your name before you deliver your question. Anyone? Okay, we have one in the room. Two. How about the online participant? Do you have any question for the both speakers? Okay. We don't have question in the Zoom, but we have two or three? Two. Okay, two questions from the offline. Wait a minute. Oh, three questions. Wow, it's interesting materials from you. Okay. Mention your name before you deliver your question.
My name is Nareswara Nirsala Pradipta. I want to ask for Professor Maximo. Is that possible to apply this technology in tropical forest, especially seasonal change? It's not clear. Thank you. Seasonal change. Seasonal change.
Okay, the first question is clear enough, Professor Maximo?
No, sorry. I think the question is if it is possible to apply it in tropical forest.
Yeah, forest, especially for tropical forest in Indonesia.
It is switchable.
Yes.
Yep. Get it?
Yes.
Okay.
The technology is the same. You just change the surface where you are applying it. It's easier in forests like Japan, for example, because we have a more active phenological phases in the forest, in vegetation. In forests like Indonesia, you probably don't have the change of colors of leaves, but I am sure that during the season, during the year, there are some characteristics that you will find in 1 month that you don't find in the other. And looking at the images, you can learn to extract these characteristics to identify one particular vegetation or not. Of course, it's much complex. It's very complex. The tropical forests have, the biodiversity is very high. So that will make it definitely much more challenging task to accomplish, but I think it will be really, really good to apply this technology there.
Any feedback from you?
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you so much.
Hmm.
And for the second question, yep, please mention your name.
Hello, Larry. How are you?
Hello.
It's me.
Hello, Citra. How are you? Good to see you.
Good to see you here.
It's like a reunion. Yeah.
Okay, so I've heard about your research actually a couple of years ago, since Sarah was doing this research, and as well as you quite a lot presenting this research. But since I'm concerning about the application of this model that because it's really interesting and it is new, and here in Indonesia I'm doing some like initial projects, and I'm doing mangrove forest restoration actually for now, and still initiating that project. And one of the challenges that we face is the disease in the seedlings are quite challenge, like big challenge actually, and it is difficult to detect them only by the leaves. And considering this and using deep learning model, I think it's quite using the picture above from above, and it's only using canopy, and it's quite difficult to detect when the canopy is not changed and when the color is not changing. And meanwhile, we need to detect the disease soon. Like when we are late, it's like meaningless whatever we planned, and it costs a lot, and it takes time for them to grow again, because it takes like maybe just 2-3 months after we plant, and then the disease or it's like particularly one animal attack, and once it attack, it's like only for 2 weeks and it's gone. So is it possible to use this method or this artificial intelligence to use for the early detection of the disease, or without concerning about the changing of the leaf color, or physical changing, because it's not clear for the mangroves, as mangrove is evergreen as well, and it's like for them it's not easy to fall the leaves even when the season change. So what do you?
Yes, in that particular case, the deep learning technology that you can apply will be based on the quality of the images that you can collect. So in your case, if disease is what you want to find, you can use RGB images, which are the usual images that we collect with our telephones. But in this case in particular, it's more recommendable to use multispectral images. As with one of the drones that we have multispectral cameras. So you can take pictures that usually you cannot, colors that you can not usually see with the naked eye. And this new information can be combined to calculate indexes that measure the plant health. So when the tree, even though we don't see it damaged, the index will tell you that that plant has some problem. So, and this helps for early detection of any disease or pest infestation. So in that case, the deep learning will work fantastic. There will be no problem. I think it's an interesting problem to deal with.
So is it any different with the NDVI method?
Yes, yes, you can with the multispectral data, you can calculate NDVI, but there is one more index that is called the NDRE that is especially used for plant health, for insect attacks or for pest infestations or for diseases. And there is a variety of indexes. So you can look which one of them is representing better the disease in this particular case. And then you can find not only for a small area, but for hundreds of hectares, as much as your drone can fly. So this is the advantage of the drone, that you can find one plant in a huge area.
Okay, thank you very much. This is really helpful. I will definitely try to explore that, and we'll let you
Okay.
know what the result will be. Thank you very much.
All right, a pleasure to see you.
Pleasure to see you too.
Okay, thank you.
Thank
Well, we have one more question. Anyone? Okay. From the students.
Check. Hello, sir. Maybe I'm gonna ask you some question.
Could you mention your name, please, before?
My name is Samara Alfaraji. I'm as a student at the Muhammadiyah University of Malang. Ma'am, it's an value, yes. I'm not just kidding. With the technology as described, I think this method is quite helpful for monitoring. As I know, our forests in Indonesia have tropical weather and have different height and low. My question is there possibility of using the method of the mountain area? Because quite a lot of Indonesian forests are located at high altitude where drones may not have covers. Maybe I'm not clear enough either. Just that, maybe as my question. It is.
Okay, Professor Maximo, the question is clear enough? Or do you need repeat? Okay. Well, the student asked about the drone technology. Is it suitable to apply in the mountain area? Professor Maximo, you are still
Okay. No.
Okay.
And you have to unmute. I cannot unmute myself. Sorry. Okay, the question is if the technology can be applied in. No, now you are mute, Mita and Krista.
Okay. So it's like TikTok. Okay. Well, the question is it suitable for applying the drone technology to a mountain area, something like that? Yep.
Yes. You know, Japan is 68% of the territory is mountains. So we apply this technology in mountains, especially makes it more interesting because the drones, the recent drones, they can follow the terrain. So they follow the shape of the mountain. So it's 5 years ago, this was not possible, but now almost all drones can do it. So it is perfect for any terrain, even if it is mountainous terrain, and makes it really more interesting, to be honest.
Have you feedback for the Professor Maximo?
Maybe just that about the answer about that. It's clear enough. Additional value.
Any else question?
That's it.
Okay.
Thank you
Okay.
very much. Have a nice day.
Okay, my pleasure. Well, thank you so much. You can sit down back. Okay, I think enough question from Professor Maximo. We have one speaker Professor Franz. Any question for Professor Franz? Okay, we have one question from our dean.
Thank you, Rita. Hi, Franz. How are you?
Hello, Armin. How are you? Nice to see you.
I'm sorry if, disturbing your time because in early morning now in
Yeah.
space.
Really.
Okay. Thank you for your time because I think it's the conference is maybe any what is miscommunication with your email. So, but it's okay, I think. So I hope you still well even in the early morning in there.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, Ricardo, to Maria also and maybe others, Manuel also.
Yeah, I will. I will.
Okay, and Pilar maybe.
Yeah.
Okay, I just only one question for you, Franz. The question is how to preserve the dolphin sperm, because I think it's what is we can very hard to take the sperm from the dolphin, so we need some I think some technology to preserve that sperm, I think. Okay.
Yeah, well, the common way to preserve them is the cryopreservation, which is in liquid nitrogen, and we did it. It's not complicated because dolphin sperm are very grateful when they are cryopreserved. So, and we use just the vapors of the nitrogen. And this is the most common way to cryopreserve. Obviously, the sperm after the sperm after the preservation, and they lost some quality, obviously, but they are still in a very good movement and a very good viability. So here in Murcia, we develop another alternative to preservation in a short period of time, that was the refrigeration, and it was the first time that we refrigerate the dolphin sperm for 1 week and even more, and they at 5 degrees. We compare 5 degrees versus 15 degrees, and they were kept better in at 5 degrees Celsius. And it was the technique, this refrigeration was the technique that we use to preserve the sperm before the insemination, the artificial insemination that we performed to get the first calf of dolphin here in Spain through this technique. Yeah.
Okay. So we are able also use the nitrogen liquid or
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah, we use it, and also in fact we have the highest gene bank of dolphin sperm we kept in Murcia, and they're responsible of that. It's the highest in the whole Europe, and also we have sex sperm. So we have through the flow cytometer, we separate the X and Y sperm, and we cryopreserve them, and we kept in our laboratory just to in a future to use them in some conservation programs.
So how many percent for the what is
motility?
Yeah. No, I mean how many percent the average of the survival rates after the treatment of the nitrogen when we will use that sperm?
The viability of the sperm?
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's more than 50%.
Okay.
That is a good number. It's a good number because, for example, in porcine, the sperm of porcine, they cryopreserve very bad. But in contrast, for example, in bovine, they preserve very well. But for dolphin, more than 50% is out.
Okay, okay, thank you, Franz.
Thank you.
See you.
Okay, thank you. Actually, I have one question for you, Professor Franz. In my opinion, each technology has strengths and weakness, and I think biotechnology is belong to sophisticated technology. So, is there any alternative technology? I mean, simpler technology, but have the effect as good as the biotechnology to develop the animal reproduction, especially we can apply in Indonesian breeder. What do you think?
Well, if I understood that, if there is any alternative to the actual production to be more sustainable, that's the question. Well, this is not easy. Well, we are involved right now in a new project that is also related with artificial intelligence. So we are trying to keep the resource that we have, but we are trying to connect all the data that we are getting from the farms. I mean, the birth tooth where the males are, and also the females' facilities. And we are trying to collect first all the data, and after to collect so early to connect all those data to be in relation and try to be more efficient in the porcine production. Our actual goal that we are starting right now, and hopefully in the next conference I can say you anything more information, get you more information.
Okay. No, it doesn't matter, Professor Franz. Well, we have a minute more. Do we have any question for us? Enough? Okay, we have one question more from the student. Mention your name, please.
Hello, let me introduce my name. My name is Gus Jabari. I was a student at University of Muhammadiyah Malang. For Professor Francisco Alberto, I have a question about on your presentation. You're using pig for the object, so I was wondering, is it possible for another species to be using your method or your research to change? Like it's like the example is you to using a cow for the object, and is it possible too for using a poultry? Poultry. Yes.
Professor Farn,
Thank you.
could you get the question?
Well, I understood that there's another species that I'm working with. Or no.
Okay, the question is your technology is applicable for the other species like cow or the poultry?
Yes.
Well, well, in the case of the porcine, for example, I would say no, because this is very specific. In the case of, for example, the fraction of the ejaculate is very specific, and it's the only species that is ejaculated in different identifiable fractions. So I would say the first part of the presentation, I would say no. Okay, but and the rest, Well, for example, the second part that we are studying, the interaction between the sperm and the reproductive fluids, I would say yes, because this is very common, and also, for example, the cow and the porcine, they are similar in some ways, and nobody right now is studying this interaction, and this is very important. Usually, the people research about the sperm interaction directly with the oocyte or with the oviductal fluid. That is the last fluid that the sperm are gonna find. But no one is studying in the middle what happened in the middle part. That is the journey of the sperm through the uterus, and when they are encountering the uterine fluid, and also with some components of the seminal plasma. So, about your question, I would say yes. In the case of the interaction between sperm and uterine fluid and seminal plasma, this is extrapolable to other species. And also the nanotechnology. If you, well, I was very fast explaining our technology, our nanotechnology, but in that case we are using two biomodel. That was the porcine, because it is very easy to use here in our lab, and also we are developing this technology in rabbits, and also we are doing that in cow, and the next step is gonna be applying also in humans.
Clear enough, or you have any feedback?
I think it's enough. Thank you.
Enough?
Mr.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Very much.
Okay, you can sit down back, and ladies and gentlemen, and also the speaker. Actually, we need more deep discussion, but due to the limited time, we have to close this question and answer discussion. So we apologize for that. And I think everyone will be agreed that the drone technology and biotechnology have contributed to support the environmental monitoring and installation of renewable energy, and also the agriculture sustainability. So thank you so much for Professor Maximo and also Professor Franz.
Thank you so much.
Okay,
Thank
we
you.
can give big applause for both. Okay, and this is the last plenary session. Finally, hopefully the speaker will give you new insight and also the beneficial information. And thank you very much. I leave the time back to the Master of Ceremony.
Thank you for Ms. Rista Anggriani, Master of Science. We present online certificate for presenter this afternoon. Professor Maximo Lopez Saceres from Japan.
Thank you.
And Professor Francisco Alberto Gracia Vasquez from Spain. Please kindly give applause to our distinguished guest and speaker for the second plenary session. Dear all ladies and gentlemen, the second session is finished. Now we move forward to the para session. Before we start, let me inform you that the subject of food technology and agribusiness will be at room 306. Subject of animal science, aquaculture, agrocomplex will be at online Zoom. Subject agrocomplex will be at this room. GKB 4, 4th floor. This complete information already distributed at WhatsApp group. Please kindly check it. Thank you.